them. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we shall remember them, lest we forget. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So there it is, the game we've been waiting for, round 5, and it's finally here. Anzac Day clash. It's at Adelaide Oval. Norwood undefeated after 4, Port Adelaide undefeated after 3. The game underway. Your commentators, Mark Naley and Ken Sheldon.
Thank you, David Mackay. What a sensational atmosphere it is at Adelaide Oval this afternoon. We see the first ball up. Rowe quickly from the middle, tries it straight onto his boot. McIntosh comes in hard. Couldn't quite take out McGuinness. Quick kick forward. There'll be plenty of pressure, plenty of experienced players. See Jarman running through. Trying to line up and play. We see Rowe gives it across a bit wider. This is Wasley. Plenty of leg speed, this Wasley. He backs himself, goes for a run, kicks the ball forward. Up there is West from behind. Couldn't quite get to the front position. Jennifer should clean this up. He doesn't. He just pushes it towards the boundary line. Again, the Port defence. Very strong, very true. Jarman, he takes it. Gives it backwards. He's found Rowe. He takes a bounce. This time decides to kick the ball towards centre half forward. At the back, that was Miller. Couldn't quite get it. And the umpire should come in and ball it up.
And already evidenced is the preparedness of the Port Adelaide defenders to play in front. Twice it has come into the Norwood forward line, half forward line, and both times the Port Adelaide defenders have been in the correct position in front and solidly spoiled the ball.
One thing you can guarantee today, with the way that Norwood went out of last year's finals race against Port Adelaide, there's some feeling in this match, and I'm sure they won't allow Scott Hodges to come up for breath again. Malloy goes in hard, West over the top, fights half of the boy for the ball. And you just see the intensity.
And in the midfield, Eastor, Jarman, Rowe and McIntosh versus Carruthers, Bamford, Ginniver and McGuinness.
Delaney, veteran of 6 grand finals, state representative. I'm sure he's got plenty of football. Tyson up, big fly, not paid. Play on, set the umpire. They're going to have to earn it out there today. McGuinness and Jarman go hard at it. Over the top comes McKay, and again already. And that's a big fly.
On replay, he nearly had enough of that. Terrific effort, but just spoiled at the last minute by McGuinness.
Back in the centre of the ground. See a big leap there by Tyson. Ball's down. In front is Esau. He wants to hold front position. Norwood clear it forward. Again was Wasley. He kicks it up. Out comes West, this time in front. Norwood have got the advantages. Kick forward. Malloy's got to have a bit of a foot race on here with Delaney. He picks it up first, Malloy. Shows a real quick yard of pace. Delaney should pick it up now. He doesn't. He's nearly gone for holding the man. He doesn't. A quick kick by the Port defence. Only as far as Miller. He couldn't quite take it. He gets it across to Jarman. Jarman lines the goals up from about 35 metres out and just strays it across to bring up the first score for the afternoon, which takes Norwood on to 1 behind.
Andrew Jarman already prominent in the game. Big possession winner and of course one of the most exciting players to be around. Him probably playing against Philip McGuinness, who's also a very, very experienced midfield player.
Dead right there, Ken. Delaney, who uses the ball beautifully from full-back. Oh, it's a scrubber. Just when you give him a rapid, it's McIntosh, 48 out. Unheard of. And Macca can kick this or he can pass off. Malloy's out wide. West is short and West gets it. So West now will kick for goal. 25 out. The angle is tight.
Well, no matter what the experience, you still see mistakes, I suppose. It is an odd-shaped ball and it really does lend itself to an occasional mistake, but that is a rarity from Delaney.
So James West, who's got 17 for the year already, he's been the dominant forward in the Redlegs forward line. He kicks it, he's led the way in their forward zone, and he gets the first blood for the Redlegs.
The important factor, David, is that in the opening 3.5 minutes, the ball has been, for its entirety, in the Norwood forward line. So they really are hard at it, and as Gary McIntosh did mention in the prelude, that they really are perhaps set for this game.
Well, they really have been the form side so far. They've won their 4 out of 4 contests. Port have also won their 3 out of 3. But Norwood really have been exciting. You see the score here. Norwood 2 goals, 1. They move on to 7 points. Port Adelaide yet to score. Another good bounce by the umpire. Esau thumps the ball forward with his left arm. Plenty of body work throwing in his early passages. You see again, the umpire will come in and throw the ball up.
You just feel, Ken, that it'll take 10 or 15 minutes for the two sides to settle down.
It's been a terrific build-up, this Anzac Day clash. The crowd is magnificent in this sunny day. Adelaide Oval just capacity.
Rowe takes it from the air. McGuinness throws onto his right boot, just pushes it forward. This is Nicholson. He'll turn onto his left leg. I think he's put it out in the full. A terrible disposal by Nicholson, who had the time, not Nicholson.
Troy
That's Clements. The wrong side of my paper there.
This is young Mark Clayton from the halfback flank. A long ball through half forward. He saw at the back, just spoils from behind, brings it down. Clements cleverly out to McIntosh. They're handballing the way out of trouble, the Redlegs. Rowe evades a tackle nicely and goes long towards centre half forward. 3 deep comes Miller, but he couldn't quite get there. Crothers took front position. Marks and plays on quickly. Now this is where Port Adelaide are able to build. They explode from defence. Feagit comes across the ground, comes grandstand side, a nice left-footed kick. Underneath this one's Mackay. It sits beautifully for him. He can play on. Takes off, ball lays, short. Out on the lead was Malakalis. Hodges runs a second string right behind Daniels. Now Hodges comes in and attacks the ball. Getting it through Fleming. Did very well. Correction. And Geneva. Snap for goal. It's wide. Pitt can't get there. The ball's out of play. There'll be a throw-in the Port Adelaide forward line.
Just a good build-up there from Port Adelaide. They switched it from the half-back line. They brought it across to the members' side wing and then went straight into the goal mouth.
Timmy Geneva, a couple of kicks already early in this game. The ball's thrown in. That was Smith trying to grab it from the air. Not a chance to clear it. Plenty of pressure put on by the Port Adelaide forward line players to keep the ball in there. A fantastic smother there. The player and Dillon.
And isn't that
Really
what it's all about?
It is.
The 1%ers, the smothers, the chases. You've seen Gary McIntosh really chase hard Nigel Feagit across half-back, and then that smother there from Port Adelaide. Both sides putting in the little things that mean oh so much.
That'll make the difference at the end of the game. Darren Smith, Esau, thumps it down. Dantokia claimed, gets it off to Pitt. Pitt gets away, a hurried kick wide to the outer side. Miller can't get there. That ball's beaten all players and it's out of bounds. Maybe thrown in the outer side. Well, the crowd, fellas, surprisingly quiet.
Still aghast at Roger Delaney's kick, I think.
Well, you just expect today, big clash, and I think they're just looking for a few bruising encounters to get them going.
That was Esau. Got his hand on the ball first. The game, we see plenty of pressure applied by both teams. We see an umpire has found a free kick here.
Obst.
He's trying to pick the player up. It is Obst.
He's been
And
a
on
good
the outer
pickup.
wing.
Hasn't he been a good pickup for them?
Very, very, very handy. So Obst drives the ball in towards centre half forward. Miller with 2-on-1 gives the ball across. This is on to Tyson. Tyson lines up the goals and he puts it through and brings up Lord second in his first for the afternoon.
Well, we've seen Tyson before try to take a spectacular mark, almost had it, and he's followed up again. Playing on the members' wing here against Mackay. It'd be a good duel there. Both very talented players and both very capable of kicking multiple goals.
Yes, it was good hands though, wasn't it, to bring it out? And the Redlegs really are doing most of the attacking. They've been cleaner with their possessions.
Their leg speed is terrific.
Stephen Williams said earlier in the week that he thought their midfield had more leg speed than the Redlegs. Well, let's see if that's true. Back in the centre, 2-1-13, the Redlegs. Port yet to score. We're almost 8 minutes in. Esau down the throat of Rowe. Rowe's claimed and held by Crothers. There'll be another bounce. Richard Williams just blows time on. Sorts out the players. You just sense that, like two boxers, they're just sparring at the moment. And all players committed to the ball. Esau from the left. Crothers from the right. It's Crothers who wins this one down. Geneva out of the middle. Little 56's tread rate. Not so little. Pitt to the far side. Tennis Clayton's across the line. You just sense that Redlegs getting more numbers around the ball. Port Adelaide just aren't getting the players around the fall of the ball quickly enough.
We really haven't had a clean forward thrust as Port Adelaide. They've been under extreme pressure. You see Jarman ends up in the long sleeve Guernsey. Beautiful conditions here at Adelaide Oval. In the mid-20s at least. I think he may have put it out on the full he has. It doesn't happen too often with Andrew Jarman.
Well, he was
Usually.
looking for another option, Mark, as Miller was double teamed there by Carruthers and Fegit, so he's looking for the wider option and just pushed it too wide.
Rowe in the front of the pack. Set upon by 3 Port Adelaide jumpers. You see around about the 9.5-minute mark, nearly that in this first quarter. Norwood with a 13-point margin. Good opening.
Bounce. Esau down. Rowe, left footer. Into space it goes, marking it as Clayton at half-back. He's opposed today to Matthew Toomey. We'll watch for that as Port Adelaide through McGuinness. Throw it wide. Carruthers needs the feed and gets a little bit of support, and that's exactly what was required. Great commitment over the top of the ball was Brad Nicholson. Midfield, Malakalis. This is Tony. Evades the tackle. Cops one from West for his trouble. It's an FAD. Gee, I thought it was right on the kick, fellas. A bit tough.
Well, they paid one earlier, which we roared at Andrew Jarman, and I guess the umpires, in their consistency, have done the right thing.
Fair enough.
Tad high as well, I think.
So this is Bamford. A long high ball. Hodges front position. Thumps the ball to ground. Ginniver misses it. Jars flicks it out. Now this is where the Redlegs work it out pretty well, don't they? Out of defence. They're very solid in this area. Malloy down from full forward. Delaney follows him. He's on the grandstand wing. We've got plenty of run, the Redlegs, and they're using it today. Through half forward he goes. West sits underneath this one. Miller, correction, underneath it. But there's a free kick being picked out, and it's going to Fegit.
So Fegit taking the mark there at centre half back on the grandstand wing. Again, we might see Jarman and McGuinness. It'll be a good match-up this afternoon. Wasley playing plenty of leg speed along with Dillon. And the ball beats both players out over the boundary line. See the crowd enjoying themselves. Seen a few times. Just perfect condition for football, considering it's towards the end of April. The winter not that far away. We see the ball kick forward again. This should be taken here.
Clayton.
That was Clayton. Really wasted his kick. He's got plenty of support here. He's a Norwood backline players running in numbers. Gives it across to Miller. What will Miller do? Couldn't quite pick it up. This is the Rowe. Rowe gives it back to McIntosh. He should set something up here. He does. He looks for West on a lead. As he got there, he couldn't quite make the rain. And Nicholson should be able to take it. He doesn't. Plenty of pressure shown by West. And also Malloy. The 2-on-3 players here. And Malloy just goes to the safety of the boundary line. Just looking back there, this is back on the centre half forward line for Port Adelaide. Just can't quite pick it up. It could be Bamford.
Looks like him, doesn't it? Anthony Bamford it is. The 22-year-old in trouble. Umpire's allowed to play on. Shot at goal. Wide. It's a point.
Already evidence in this game is both teams' ability to block up the centre corridor in defence, and you can see they are double teaming Jason Miller, who's playing centre half forward for Norwood, with Fegit and the big ruckman Carruthers, forcing the Norwood players to pick the wider option. On 2 occasions, the most experienced players, both Jarman and McIntosh, have missed their target. They'll have to improve their accuracy while going into their forward line.
Tyson jumping across the top is infringed. They really are having a go today, aren't they? This is Jared Polton from half back. Clements from behind. Spoils down to the boundary line. Rob Popplestone.
Behind play, Bamford, of course, in trouble. He met with a heavy collision, Andrew Jarman. It was a fair bump, though, and he hit the deck. He'll be carried off on a stretcher in just a few moments, and you'll see Setray enter the ground for his first appearance today.
And thanks for that, Rob. I might just get you to check on him. Setray, who spent a year away from the club last year, went out to where Border Districts. Mark, thanks. And has been a premiership player. He's been a good player too, a tough little rover. So they've got some good experience to draw on. As Bamford carried off on a stretcher, and that's just not good news for the lad or for Port Adelaide. Well, we've got just a little bit of vision of the incident. And that's just a shepherd. So as Clements came through, Jarman just applies a shepherd, which is fair enough. He was within the distance.
No doubt about that. It's protecting the ball carrier, but just catching Bamford unexpectedly and would have knocked the wind right out of his sails.
I think it's knocked more than the wind out of his sails, I think. Kenner. Carried off on the stretcher. I don't think he was too well at all, this young fella. But a pretty exciting player is Tony Bamford, Anthony Bamford.
He did line up in the midfield and would have been matching perhaps against Stephen Rowe as the first rover for the opposing teams.
Well, maybe that's just, I hate to say it, the jolt out of the blue that Port Adelaide needed, though. Just a little lacklustre. Their attack has not been as fierce as we've come to expect from Port Adelaide in the opening 15 minutes. We're 14 and a half minutes into the first term, and just something like that can act as a catalyst to get a side going.
Well, it can, and you can see here on replay, like he's chasing. It just wakes up there that Jarman's going to shepherd him and just cops him in the left-hand side of the body. But Daisy Ball Ace now will take up the position in the midfield, a very experienced midfield player, and Setre, who has come on number 3 for Port Adelaide, resumes in the forward pocket.
So we're 15 minutes into the first term. First casualty of the match. Bamford taken off on a stretcher, and the umpire now will get play back underway. Big crowd enjoying this. If you're thinking about coming down to Adelaide Oval, I'm sure most of the crowd's in now. You need to just find a spot, but you couldn't pick a better day to bring granddad or dad down to the football if you're a youngster.
Family Hill.
Yep, Family Hill, dead right. Children under 18 are free, by the way. Smith wins that one. Trying to get his way through was Matthew Toomey. He couldn't get through. You just feel it. Norwood really have got the score on the board, haven't they? 14 points ahead. 16 minutes in.
Again, Esau up against Carruthers. Carruthers gets the better of this duel this time. Kicks the ball forward also, follows up beautifully, but Norwood defence line really has been strong so far. Really mishandle it. Jarman, what will he do? He goes further back. This player here is McCormack. He gets pounced upon by Treadray. Port Adelaide forward line working very, very, very hard. The ball is centred. Norwood had the numbers here. Jarman at the front of the pack. Some good work by the Port Adelaide defence. Forward line player just to keep the ball in there. He couldn't quite manage between 3 or 4 other Norwood support players. We see Jarman's clearing it. Miller again really hasn't had his hands on the ball as yet. And a couple of things, but not enough. Port again go forward. Have a Setri there. Behind was Bassett. He couldn't quite take it. Ginniver again comes in. He's been pretty busy early. Just kicks it as far as a Norwood defence. And they will clear again.
Fleming with the kick. Tyson, McKay. Crothers came in late. Just two-fisted the ball forward. Now recovers. Did well for a big man, didn't he? McKay over the top. The runners now go for it. Clayton off half-back grandstand wing. Goes long towards Scott Hodges, but the kick was errant. It just didn't hit the target. And Esau drops back into the pocket and marks it.
The Adelaide Oval is so wide in the pockets, it's almost a goal for the opposition.
Well, he nearly scored one. Fleming to the far side. Obviously, Norwood planned to play that outer side. That seems to be the way they've gone for most of the day. Wormsley, Dan Tokia. Back to the youngster. That's holding the ball. No, the umpire said it was held to him. I think he was lucky.
That's young Wosley.
He's a good little player, this kid. He played, what, 3 games in the under-19s last year, Wosley, and then 16 in the reserves. And now he's made his senior debut, and there's AFL clubs just jumping at the chance to take him, but he hasn't nominated last year for the draft.
Graham Setri, the players come on to replace Bamford. So the free kick has been given away.
You've coached against Setri, Ken. A lot of people think he lacks pace, but he's got plenty of courage. How do you man up on him?
Well, you've got to match up with someone that has pace and has a football brain, because he's full of energy, as Adrian Setri.
Stephen Pitt goes in short. Lord again will clear. This is Dan Tokia. Which way will he go? He takes a bounce, backs himself with his run. Gets up high, looking for West. West falls over at the critical stage. Rose back there with Malakalis. What will Rowe do? He's got support by Tyson out wide. He goes that way. Malloy puts him on a lead. He got that far. It has Delaney at the back.
Little nudge.
And he's given a push. He's given the free kick away.
Just a little nudge, wasn't it?
Well, it clearly was a little nudge. The umpire was in a better view than we certainly are from here. Might be able to pick it up a little better on replay.
The ball was just a little bit high for Malloy, and he had to wait. What do you reckon?
Well, perhaps it was there. It was certainly good acting as well, wasn't it?
Well, Roger's not happy with it. He's saying this bloke should win the Academy Award.
So Malloy outside the boundary line. Here's one kicking his handball. He decides to come around for the big check side. Brings it back. Has he brought it back far enough? I don't think he has. The umpire indicates he brings up another behind on the Norwood side. Norwood, they move on to 2 goals, 3-15. And Port Adelaide's yet to score.
And again, it was Norwood being forced wide. Coach Peter Rode has a problem there with the Port Adelaide defenders blocking the centre corridor particularly well, and the Norwood players are forced then to use the wide expanses of the pockets of Adelaide Oval.
Port Adelaide normally go right down the middle, but Norwood have done their homework. Esau right in the centre, just stopping that kick. Crothers wide, and this is Wasley. 48 out and closing, goes towards goals, and it's just offline as we go down to the boundary line and Rob Popplestone.
I think you'll find a move's going to be made here. The big number 43 for Port Adelaide in Daniel Jarks is going to make his first appearance in the big clash today, and coming off will be Shane Crothers.
The Cootamundra kid, Kenny. You spent a bit of time in Cootamundra, haven't you?
An exciting place.
The nightlife's good. They play good footy out there.
Delaney, good spoil from behind by Jarman. He goes in and out of it again. In there is Malakalis also. And Stephen Rowe. Young Malakalis there. That's Spiro. His brother Tony also out there this afternoon.
Spiro didn't play a lot of football last year, Mark. I think 5 games. So he's come across from Geelong and spent a fair bit of time in the reserves.
Well, those players again, those 3 players. We see Jarman, McIntosh and Rowe. The ball's put forward again. The good mark taken. Well inside the 50-metre. That's King.
Well, the Norwood midfield is definitely on top, and they have a couple of options up forward. Every time it is going in there, at least they are looking like something will happen. When it's been going into Port Adelaide's side, it just hasn't been looking too well structured at all, which is unusual, I might say.
Damien King lines up. You can see on screen there, around about 20-25 metres out. Pretty well directly in front. This should be quite an easy kick for a player of his ability. I think he just might have dragged it across his body a little bit.
I reckon
brings up another behind from the Norwood side.
I say, Mark, I reckon we missed him before at the other side when the player had a snap. I think it was him who. So he's got 2 points, or I've credited him with 2 points anyway. No, our statistician says that's not right. Ian Mogridge is the man on the spot. Thanks, Moggy. But Ken, you really expect them to kick those?
Well, this is where Port Adelaide are at their most dangerous, aren't they? Delaney has the ball. He's a fine exponent of disposal. Pinpoints it to his teammate as witness there again. And Port Adelaide now have not been in the game particularly, but really late in this quarter could answer with a goal, perhaps 2, and be in a better position than perhaps they should be.
Spiro Malakalis kicked it to his brother Tony. Both great little runners. High fly. Esau couldn't bring it down. Ginniver manhandled, pulled off the ball. So too was McIntosh. And that one's out of bounds on the full. Yep, it's a free kick. And it'll go to Clements of the Redlegs.
So Clements will drive it back down the outer wing. He does that. Looking for Miller again from behind. Ginniver cleans it up very, very quickly. Quick hands. Ball's pushed forward again for the Port Adelaide side. Norwood again will clean it. The defence has been ruthless in this first quarter. Jarman's in there again. He's working extremely hard. Just gets a boot to it at the right time. Norwood had the runners out wide. This player here in Fleming just sets it up beautifully. He's gone a bit too long with the kick. In front is Malloy. He couldn't quite take it. The support here back with Tyson. He can just give it back to him. He doesn't need to. The player backs himself, and King again directs it towards the centre. Again, the Norwood players. And this is Obbs. What can he do with it? Just got to pick it up and straighten his body up. He's got support again in Wasley. Wasley should go towards goal, and he should be able to kick it. He puts it high into the air. Has it come back? It hasn't. And he's rushed through for another behind. He's not happy with himself, Wasley. Inside, well inside 50 there, Ken, and just couldn't finish it off.
It creates further mental pressure upon the Norwood side. They are really looking to break, I guess, some sort of hoodoo and win some of these big clashes against Port Adelaide. And inaccurate kicking is costing them a chance to really blow this game apart early as it is in this.
Damon Shaw, the St Kilda recruit. Natural left footer. First time we've really had a look at him in field play. Pitt, the big fly, brings it down. And this is where Port Adelaide need to get moving, is through that midfield. They're just misusing the ball through there, and it's costing them dearly. Malakalis couldn't get it away. Bassett handballs into space. Clements goes after it. Claimed by Tony Malakalis. Goes to ground. And the umpire says he'll have a bounce.
And that's where players like Damon Shaw will have to come into the game. Their disposal is of pinpoint accuracy, and he's been shifted into the midfield now after we've seen the young fellow go off the ground, Ian Dillon, and he just needs to now accumulate some possessions, not be overawed by the fact that he's playing up on against Andrew Jarman, and just get into the game.
Some intensity required now. Port Adelaide need to lift Darren Smith off the ground. Hard at the ball, Tyson taken high, play on, said the umpire. Throws it away, Hodges, first touch today, goes to ground. They're going to mind him like a diamond, because this is the man who really can turn a game. And Scotty Hodges threw the ball back at the umpire and gets a warning from umpire Richard Williams. I don't think he liked not getting a free. He thought he deserved one. Frustration.
Plenty of players around the football. You see Smith for the Magpies. Jarman again has got many possessions in this first quarter. It's gone wide. Jarman's got 9 already. Of course, I know Miller from behind uses his body beautifully. He's got the pace to pull away from Feakett. Couldn't quite get there. Usually quick-legged gain is king. What can he do? He just picks it up, throws it on his boot, try to bring it back, and it was a good smother on the Magpie defence.
Norwood would be really disappointed, I think, to only be 18 points in front. Like, Port Adelaide are scoreless, which is a rarity, but really Norwood have had almost double the play.
Really have been in charge in this first quarter. Feakett from behind, thumps it back towards the boundary line. Rowe is there. He is a dangerous play. Gives it back to his captain in McIntosh. McIntosh around his body, puts it high. Who can take this? Be lucky if you can. Malakalis from behind, ran straight to the Norwood defence. The umpire indicates will come in and ball it up.
These big games, like it is a big clash, a big SNFL clash, and you see players the experience of McIntosh, earlier Delaney, make mistakes such as that. It just shows the mental pressure that is on the players.
Setri explodes from half-back, delivers the ball long and low. Through the midfield it goes. At the back door it's Pitt, mops up beautifully, pulled off the ball. Fantastic work Treadway. Now Pitt again. Oh, it's stolen. D. Smith trashes through, feeds it off. This is where they need to build up, and Hodges on the lead. He's got it. So Scotty's got his first mark, and he'll have his first shot for goal. Port Adelaide aren't on the board, and we are, what, 26 and a half minutes into the first term, unheard of. Just a bustle in the midfield.
And again, it was a good build-up, a strong build-up from half-back. But if he kicks this, they're 12 points down, and really where they perhaps should be 5 or 6 down. So Port Adelaide, never say die attitude is just something which we all marvel at.
So Scotty Hodges, who turns 29 tomorrow, needs a birthday present, goes long to goals. They're on the board. The Magpies get one. That's what they needed. 27 minutes in, they get their first.
And isn't that so important to get the latest goals of the quarter, the last goals in the time-on period, open up again with the first ones in the next quarter, and you just narrow the gap by so much.
It was an important kick, Mark, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
The ball drop didn't look too good.
No, he was a little bit proppy, wasn't he, coming in looking like that? As we can see, he's getting a bit of grass and a bit of soil on his hand, but we can see the 27.5-minute score there. Norwood up by 12 points. Rowe again, who's been really courageous in this first quarter. McGuinness sort of calling for a free kick, but Rowe just head down, tail up over the football. Just wasn't prepared to give it up.
Rowe, Jarman,
McIntosh,
Wasley and Tyson across the midfield.
Again, we see Rowe in there. Jarman comes in a bit later.
And Esau Ken is really dominating the rucks for the Redlegs as well. He's giving them first use of the ball.
So that entire midfield bracket is certainly well on top.
Yeah, Esau at least a forearm above. Both Port Adelaide ruckman today. As you see, he takes another knock out of the air. Ball's pushed forward. Again, both sides. And Setri, the player that came on to replace Bamford.
Now, tell me, if he drags it in like that and doesn't get it out, surely that's a free. Well, what's the rule there?
Well, what else is he going to do, David? He's just going to knock the ball out to a Norwood player.
Well, that's what you have to do. You drag it under and you don't get it out, it's all over. And that's what we need. We don't need bounces in football, we need the game flowing. This is Clayton from half-back to the far side. Clements made good ground, diving attempt, couldn't quite get there. Dillon
off the wing. A long ball to Scotty Hodges. He's out on the lead. He's got front position. He gets there, but good spoil deep in defence by the Redlegs. Malakalis goes at it. Couldn't quite keep it in.
I just reckon that was a terrific effort by Hodges, realising that he couldn't take the mark, just crashed into his Norwood opponents, as he did earlier in the quarter when he was outnumbered 4-1. It takes a big commitment from a full forward to do that, and it certainly makes the Norwood defenders think twice next time.
Ball thrown in the forward pocket. Rowe for another possession. Norwood trying to work it out. They're under extreme pressure again. This play here, and Fleming, he's got time to steady himself. He puts it wide out in front of Miller. Miller should take this. Figert right on his hammer. Puts the ball over the boundary line. Good work by Nigel Figert.
It's been good, Figert. A good duel there at centre-half back on big Jason Miller. Miller being double-teamed by the Port Adelaide ruckman dropping back as well. So a very difficult task for Jason Miller, number 17 for Norwood.
Macca tries to crash through. Gets a free. Chips it short. Tyson dominating his wing. McGuinness tries to slow him down. Just slips away, doesn't he? Goes long lead, chest mark. 40 out. Delaney tries to make it 45, but is pulled back by the umpire. Now Malloy can make the distance here.
Should be able to kick this.
A couple of years with Melbourne. 11 goals, 3 for the season. A point today. As the siren sounds, it'll drop short. And at quarter time in this match, it's a 12-point advantage to the Redlegs. All right, the second quarter underway. Can Port Adelaide get back? They trail by 12 points at quarter time. Your commentators, Mark Nayley and Ken Sheldon.
See, he saw in the right of screen there. Really is pumping himself up for a big second quarter. Port Adelaide ruckman, he too, determination all over his face. Gets a bit of the duel there. Puts the ball down with the Nord. Small brigade again will clear the football. This play there in Clements, kicks the ball up forward. Miller again, who hasn't taken a mark as yet, up against Figert. Figert cleans it from defence, goes out wide, but really has pushed it too wide. Gives the Nord player Malloy an opportunity to take it. He just goes for a punch to the safety of the boundary line.
And that was an interesting tactic from Malloy. Like in a lot of occasions, you would see the forward player in that instance try and bring the ball inboard to a running Crum player, but he just opted to go for the safety of the boundary. Norwood now set up through the big man supremacy, perhaps of Miller, trying to kick a goal from the throw-in.
That was Jake's got the better of the duel, but the Nord, again the Nord small brigade pick it up. This ball's kicked in by Rowe. He really has been sensational in that first quarter. Had 9 possessions, along with Jarman also had 9.
Nigel Figert spoiling that ball, another throw-in taking place, but he's an exciting player, isn't he?
Again, the ball's thrown in. Just around from before. Ginniver, a little bit quiet in that first quarter. Few possessions, gets the ball back only as far as Tyson. So Tyson, just outside of the half-forward flank, drives it towards the centre. West just times his run, gets his hands up there, couldn't quite take it. Again, the Port defence. This is Malakalis all over the top of the football. With him was Poulton. Again, Figert's there. He'll put it out for the boundary line again. Hasn't quite got there. Miller has kept it inside. Jarman is hard at it. He dives back over the football along there with Ginniver. A couple of old campaigners really have thrown themselves at this game.
Well, Mark, I caught up with Tim Ginniver as you saw at the quarter-time break. And we might just have a look at the dive.
Desperation by both players.
Isn't it? Great, but Tim said to me, he said, look, you won't see anything soft from us. He said, that's just not what we produce. We don't make that. And it's very interesting to hear the skipper talk that way.
Fantastic crowd. You just expected for a Port-Nord clash. I know last year it was around 18,000 out at Nord Oval.
16-6 it was,
16-6.
Big crowd.
Today there has to be a lot more here this afternoon.
And that kick by Toomey, under pressure, goes out of bounds on the full. Spiro Malakalis. He's also 29 years old this week on Wednesday, as is Lachlan Bowman, who's sitting in the grandstand watching this match, injured. Easthill couldn't get it. Ginniver gets through. Almost 300 games under his belt, by the way. He's coming up pretty close.
Been a magnificent role model for SANFL football and Port Adelaide. A couple of other players sitting in the stand. Anthony Harvey from Norwood.
Todd Davey.
And Marty Heppel. Good to see him come back after suffering a knee injury. Wolf Blass also there.
Yeah, Matty James. You're after the wine. This is Malakalis. This is Spiro Malakalis. Plenty of pace. This is where they need it. Gets the ball stripped from him. Recovers. Goes back after it. Damon Shaw just threw that one out. Ginniver a hurried kick into space. No one home. And mopping up. Pitt doing a beautiful job across half-back. Doesn't he look a better player since coming back from Melbourne? Often they don't, but he really did fire up over there. This is Wasley. A long ball towards full forward, and West marks. Well, it was all so easy.
And it's so well done there. Terrific football from Norwood, and West now is a right footer, and he has the wind favouring him slightly, coming perhaps just slightly over his, perhaps slightly over his right-hand shoulder.
The left or right?
I think it'll go right to left.
He'll take the left post, you watch. So he lines it up, 30 out, 45-degree angle. Beautiful. It's come back from the right, and he's got it beautifully right through the middle. 2 goals on the board to West. He is their star forward as they step away to an 18-point lead. 3.5 minutes into the second term.
Wasley, what a player. One bounce, very balanced, and lace out, pinpoint to the aerial supremacy of James West.
Just saw him also acknowledge his teammate with a kiss on the forehead.
We don't recommend that.
And back in the middle of the oval. Norwood 3 goals, 6-24. Port Adelaide still that solitary goal. They're still on 6 points. Ball down again. Jake's up against Esau. Esau is just arms over top of the Port Adelaide ruckman at the moment. Coming through hard. That's McIntosh has cleaned his own player up, and that was Rowe. Wasley's in there. McIntosh again is there. He just kicks the ball forward, only goes far as Malakalis.
Malakalis from half-back. Lifts the eyes, goes long. D. Smith the target, 2 hands, 2 bites, couldn't quite gather it in. Eastdoor can't control it. Pitt goes after it, flicks it out. Tyson over the top, so too Bourlays, but it falls to Jarman, who gets a hurried kick away, and after it goes Clayton. Opposed to him is Matthew Toomey, and Clayton quite content to see it go across the line. Been a pretty good play today. He got the most consistent award last year in the reserves, and he really is following up last season's consolidation. He had a couple of senior games last year with a fine performance today.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? To see these youngsters develop and just progress year by year.
There we go, play there in Paul. He puts the ball forward. Trent Ray has been very, very quiet this afternoon. He's yet to pick up a possession. Got the 1 kick, I'm led to believe. So just about a 5.5-minute mark coming up.
So I might get you to have a guess at the crowd shortly, mate.
Start counting for you, David. See Treadray down to Setri. Ball staying in, no it doesn't. Ball back, just prepare to push it out over. Slow the game up a little bit.
Paul Evans warming up on the boundary line. The Port Power draftee. Only 18, an exciting future ahead of him. He's only played 4 games. You'll see him in the number 40 jumper when he plays for the Power. This is Toomey along the boundary line. Tyson, who's really running out of his skin today. Can't quite get there. We'll have a throw in. 6 minutes gone, second term, Adelaide Oval, Anzac Day, and it's the Redlegs by 18 points as we go live throughout South Australia and the Northern Territory on the ABC.
Esau in front of Smith. Smith from behind just uses his body a little bit better. A handball there by Treadray over the top. Port go forward. Plenty of body work shown here by both sides. Gain coming through as the Nord defence really has been outstanding so far in this game. This is Polton. He gets the ball moving quickly, goes inside, makes it pretty hard for his centre half back in Fegert. That was Ginniver ends up with it. He puts the ball from behind as Jarman just takes the ride, takes the sit, and takes the mark.
It's a wonderful touch, Ken, isn't it?
Seeing back a kick behind the play, as he loves to do, Andrew Jarman, and uses the ball so well.
Yes, he hits the target as his brother Darren does. They must have had great fun. I reckon they had a small backyard. Couldn't afford to kick it over the fence. They used the ball beautifully. Tyson towards Miller. Misses that one. Ginniver mops up beautifully. He's doing some heavy work in the backfield. Clayton from centre half back drives it long to the outer side. He had no target, so he just put it up and let it run and hope somebody got underneath it. Pitt gets there first, gets support. High over the top is Tyson.
Looks good back there, Stephen Pitt, number 26 for Norwood. Reads the play well and just drifting across.
Pretty composed, isn't he? West claimed, goes to ground. Miller just bottles it in and makes sure that ball doesn't go anywhere. Tough player, Miller Ken. Last year in the state game, he really scared a couple of blokes in WA.
He's a big man.
Gets the free kick here, he does. Jason Miller still got the headgear on.
Crossed to Norwood 3-4 seasons ago, coming down from the Brisbane Bears. Wore number 9 for the Bears.
So we see Miller drives it right towards centre half forward. West amongst 3 players. Port Adelaide defenders takes a sensational mark. It's already kicked 2. This should bring up his third. He's only 5-10 metres out, directly in front.
I've got to ask you, Ken, when you see him in this sort of form, and you're Wayne Stringer, the coach of Glenelg, who really didn't want him at the Bay, you think they did the right thing in giving him away?
So West, as I said, 10-15 metres out, directly in front, brings up his third goal for the afternoon. And that's Norwood's 5th.
Well, he's certainly the icing on the cake for Norwood at this stage. Their inaccuracy has been their only slight on the game, but West, his accuracy, his aerial supremacy has been, well, the difference in the game, if you like, the difference on the scoreboard. But you'd have to be closer to the scene at Glenelg, I think, to make a decision like that. Players of James Wester's age and experience, when they make up their mind to play, they really can play.
Well, he's 31, so who knows? We go down to the boundary line and Rob Popplestone.
Another change being made down here, of course. Port Adelaide changing their ruckman off the bench. In a few moments' time, you'll see Crothers come back onto the field, and of course, that'll mean Daniel Jarks will leave the field.
What do you think about that strategy, Ken?
Well, it's a very warm day, I suppose, for football this time of the year. It's a big ground. It's been a big build-up to this game. So I don't think there's too much wrong with that.
Fair enough. Eastaugh. Treadray off to Mackay. A long ball towards full forward. Hodges underneath it. Couldn't quite gather it in. Oh, that was a throw, wasn't it? Dan Tokia gets it out the back door to Pitt, who really is picking up plenty of possessions. So is this guy, Tyson. He's having a field day out there. Might need to have a look at who's playing on him. A long ball to Obst. Polton over the top of it, and he is a goer, that kid. Jared Polton, number 47. He looks a bit untidy, but he's a goer.
Very neat. He read the ball very well at half back there before, played in front. It took a very good chest mark with a left-handed handball into the midfield.
It's Carruthers in front. It's just come on, as we know. Again, Dan Tokia just drives the ball towards the boundary line and it goes out over again. At the moment, Porter in trouble. Lord lead by 24 points.
You can never write them off, though, can you?
They're only 4 goals off the pace.
Again, here we go. The Norwood defence has been outstanding. Just keep pushing, keep running in numbers. Ends up with McIntosh. He just takes off. I've seen him move like that for years. Back of the pack. Carruthers has worked hard to get back there, just to clean it up. Couldn't quite put it back over the boundary line. This could be West again. He couldn't quite get there quickly enough. He buzz up again up against 2 or 3 players. He's pushing hard, West. This is Fegert. Drives it wide. McKay's there to take it. He couldn't quite get his hand up far enough to hold it in. The Norwood player runs it out of the boundary. It could be a free kick. Just used him after he'd been over the line. Just pushed him through the back. Just helped Wosley out over the boundary.
Wosley with terrific pace. There's no doubt that perhaps could have been paid as a free kick. Mackay, who's been blitzed on this wing in the first quarter, has stayed on this wing at the start of the second quarter in an endeavour to just try and get back into the game. He was blitzed by Tyson.
Row to Pitt. Pitt is dominating. A long ball. Obst West 3 deep. Crashed the back. Nearly took a screamer. Polton through. Couldn't get it. Tyson is also playing well. Off the outer wing. Obst fights hard for it. Rowe comes in. Lends support. Feeds it off to Jarman. They're combining well. They'd like salt and pepper, those two. Jars flicks it out the back door. Over the top goes Dobbs. Running onto it. King feeds it off. Tyson feeds it. The sweeper was Clements. Short. And on the lead is Malloy. It looked good, didn't it?
Clements has been very, very good off half-back all game. And yet again there, getting a possession, this time further forward for Norwood.
We just see Malloy. Lines up. Kicks him around 45 metres. He's put it right through the middle of the goal square. Malloy so far, it's his first goal for the afternoon. He's kicked 1 goal, 1. The Norwood Football Club just extend their lead. Rob Popplestone the boundary. What can Port Adelaide do?
Well, they're going to try some few new things now. Damon Shaw is just leaving the field behind me, and you'll see number 53 come on, Paul Evans. The instructions are to hit the body as hard as you can and to run hard on those running players through the midfield.
Back in the centre of the ground, Norwood 5 goals, 6-36. They got a 30-point margin over Port Adelaide. Nearly the 13-minute mark of this second quarter. Falls down again. Port have been under extreme pressure. 32 for Norwood is Toomey. Ball's kicked forward again. In front was Miller. He's got his hand in today. This is obviously from behind. He cleans it up, goes directly to the goal. I think another one's been brought up. That player, King, has been very, very busy in his first half. And pretty exciting. He brings up his first for the afternoon. He's kicked one goal and a couple of points. And Norwood again, they just really are dominating this game.
And that's terrific to see. When you're in a position where you've had all the play, but you just can't quite put it on the scoreboard, it's a great confidence booster to put 2 quick ones on, as has just happened for the Norwood side. They are full of legs, they are full of confidence. Those instructions to the young fellow coming on the ground for Port Adelaide are fair enough and probably right and correct, but gee, in this frame of mind, Norwood, they're just going to really, well, they're going to laugh at it.
Well, we saw them, didn't we, against Central District on the Friday night just a couple of weeks ago. They had 11 goals at half-time, and Centrals didn't have a goal on the board. Similarly, they're dismantling the Port Adelaide forward line currently. Their defence has just been fantastic. Feagit sets himself after it. Miller just paddles it on, lets the runners run onto it, but Feagit is quick enough to get back. He did well for a big man, and that one came off the foot of Malloy, and it's a free kick to Port Adelaide.
Correctly so. Roger Delaney called that one well, but the boundary umpire was equally as competent.
So Feagit from defence, probably their best player at the moment, the way they're going. Right inside the line, big fly Esau, brings it down Rowe, had the ball stripped from him and across the line again. We're 14 and a half minutes into the second term. It's 1 goal Port Adelaide to 6-6 Norwood, and who would have thought of this?
Stephen Rowe there, just in perfect position. He does working close around the ground, inside those packs. A real true rover. Works hard there to tackle the big fella, Carruthers. Tyson shows some courage going back. Just called out the last moment. Port got a chance here through Dillon. If he can just pick it up, he runs with Tyson. Tyson's not short of pace either. He gets there. Norwood really are working so hard. You just see the players just pushing themselves to the limit. Goes out wide again. This is Tyson. There's plenty of the footballers, Tyson. 14 possessions so far. We're only midway through the second quarter. Malloy comes out again, takes on Feagit, and Feagit just pushes it out over the boundary line.
It's not bad for a wingman, is it? The snag as well. Put his name in the scoreboard with a sausage roll.
Interpreting that, that's a goal. 15 and a half minutes gone. Crothers thumps it down. Gets a second bite at the cherry, by the way. Bourlays, hurried kick forward into space. Over the top of it, Pitt and Treadray. Pitt really has dismantled Treadray's game today. His confidence is shot. Slung away was Pitt. McGuinness feeds it off to Tony Malakalis. Now here's an opportunity for Port Adelaide just to build it up. A Treadray kick as a cloud breaker. Clements couldn't gather it in. Pantokia does. To the outer side he goes, and Toomey takes off. They really are running hard and wide, the Redlegs, and using the ball pretty well. Rowe not paid the mark. Yes, he is. As we go down to the boundary line, and Rob Popplestone again.
Well, they're resting the big man for the first occasion. You'll see that Simon Eastor will leave the ground for his first rest of the day, and coming on is big Andrew Pascoe.
Thanks, Poppy. Big Mark Feagit, and it's paid. So Simon goes off for a well-earned rest and fresh legs in Pascoe. It's not a bad ploy, is it?
It's a very good ploy. Take a tall man off and put a taller one on, but Pascoe also very capable of kicking goals.
Coming out hard again. A chance here for Port Adelaide. This is Setray. Quick hands through from McGuinness. On the Bourlays. Bourlays right on the 15-metre line, goes directly towards goal. The young 18-year-old Scotty Bassett.
And that's what happens when things are going against you. Stephen Williams has put his 2 big men, Darren Smith and Scott Hodges, back in the goal square, going for a smaller half-forward line in an endeavour to run it through and kick a goal here in Adelaide Oval. And it just hasn't quite worked for him, with it adding further to the frustration as Bassett took that mark in the last line of defence.
We saw Andrew Jarman then lining up Darren Smith. He's already put one player out for the afternoon. He did use his head then. He knew that he hasn't got the size of a Darren Smith. Just took him straight from his legs.
Actually, with that haircut, he looked like a bullet. Maybe that's his new nickname, the Weapon.
He's holding his nose. He might have caught one.
Norwood making another interchange player. Nathan Smart will come on, 45, warming up on the boundary line as we go down to Rob Popplestone.
I can tell you that the player coming off is Stephen Rowe. He's worked hard enough. They're going to give him a break until half-time, and he'll come back on in the third quarter. It may be a wrist injury, in fact.
Okay, thanks, Rob, for that. We just might watch Rowe in his wrist.
He doesn't want to come off. Stephen Rowe.
He doesn't want to finish a season, Rowe. Just wants him to keep playing. He's as tough as nails. He's a great character around the Redlegs camp. Terrific clubman.
Another player with 15 possessions. Malakalis. Again, put the ball high. Expecting someone to take a grab up there. They're just not using the way we normally see Port Adelaide. Give their forwards an opportunity. McGuinness has been very, very quiet this afternoon. McCallus again. Smith comes out hard. He should have taken the football before he took the player on. Couldn't quite do it. And again, the North defence through Dan Tokia cleaned it up.
Rowie cleaned up, free kick. Crothers got him, and Rowie knows all about it too. He's feeling the effects. That's a 25-metre penalty as well. Umpire ins right on the spot, brings Crothers back, gives him a warning. What do you think, Ken?
Well, there's no doubt it was a free kick, and you can see it there just opened up, was unfortunately right at the wrong moment. But what tremendous half-back line pressure from McIntosh and Dan Tokia, the Indian Norwood defence. So just no matter how big they are, they're just prepared to throw the tackles on.
Malloy on the lead, that's where the ball goes wider still, and running hard is Fleming down from defence. How did he get there? And he'll kick for goal from 30.
Scotty followed him down, just didn't have enough pace to go with him all the way. Scotty's sitting on about the 50-metre line, in around about centre-half forward, but Fleming just too much pace.
Well, it's been good to see Clements, to see Pitt, and now Fleming, who looks very good at fullback. He's very athletic and has kicked a lot of goals in his career with Fitzroy and now Norwood.
Well, he didn't kick any last year. In fact, in 10 senior games last year, he didn't get a razoo.
Peter Road developing as a fullback.
Yes. Oh, he kicked that like a full forward, didn't he? What a beautiful kick. It's his first goal in a year and a bit. And I think a lot of Norwood fans would be happy with that. Remember, he shattered that cheekbone early last year, which really affected his confidence, I think. But he's a very popular figure.
He is a very popular figure, terrific bloke and a tremendous player. One unlucky not to have played a lot more AFL football.
So Dale Fleming brings up his first goal for the afternoon from full back. Centre half back, that is. So back in the middle. Norwood really are in charge. They're 7 goals, 6-48. But Adelaide still that solitary goal. Kicked by Scotty Hodges. Towards the end of that first quarter, we see Norwood again thrusting forward. Miller in front of the pack, just gives him a target. Every time he's around, he does give him a contest. West working hard, trying to push the ball forward, and again the umpire will come in and ball the ball up. Rob Popplestone, we just see Norwood's total dominance so far in this first half.
Well, you have indeed, and they're going to try to dominate that leg speed too on the ground, because they're going to bring Damien King off the ground for a rest and bring on some more pace. And on this occasion, Smart's going into the field for the Redlegs.
Mosley's kick forward, off hands, behind. The Redlegs really taking complete control here as we go 21 minutes into the second term. It's just before half-time, 7-7 to 1 goal. And the Redleg defence have been brutal. Port Adelaide haven't been able to penetrate it. This is new boy Brad Nicholson, recruited from Footscray. We haven't seen a great deal of him today. Back to Delaney. Under pressure, it's a high, long ball. Big fly, Pascoe. Looks good, the big man.
Sitting a kick behind the play as a roaming ruckman. Just really, that was really just set up for him.
Nathan Smart comes on. King off. Mark in defence is Fegert, who really is dominating. Perhaps they might make a change there and just get somebody a little bit more mobile. That's where he struggles. But he's dominating the position for Port Adelaide. Probably their only winner in their defensive zone, and that ball's out of play. We'll have a throw in.
So the big second half of football here really has been dominated by Norwood, as we said in this first half. They've been in total charge. Port, they never give in. You can never underestimate a Magpie side. They'll fight it out to the end. But at the moment, they're just not winning enough possession of the football. Umpire Williams puts the ball down. Good bounce. Miller in there to use the rug work. Row again. He just pulls himself up off the dirt. With him standing alongside him is Ginniver. It's been pretty quiet this afternoon. He's got a few possessions, but most of them have been under extreme pressure. Really haven't gone to any advantage. It's a big fella in Carruthers. He gets a tap. Tyson comes in. Setri comes in hard. He gets his eyes and body over the football. Jarman's there also, just to bottle it up. And again, we're just having a bit of a lull in this game at the moment. The crowd's a little bit quiet.
And this is where
Really haven't got involved.
Port Adelaide is so dangerous here. Like, okay, they're a long way off the pace in this game, but they can get a couple of goals in the time on period if the Norwood concentration does lapse.
As Toomey ends up with it, the player's running past him, streaming past him, gets up quickly, lifts his eyes, turns his body around, sees the player out wide. This is Nathan Smart. He wants to play on, he does. He comes on his left-hand side, he goes directly towards goals. He made a distance, I think he has. From outside 50, Nathan Smart has brought up another goal for the North side. That's their 8th. They go to 8 goals 7. The Port Adelaide still 1 goal 6.
And from a ball-up situation, Norwood just totally dominant with the football, used the ball well into their half-forward line with a switch of play, and then kicked the long goal. Goals on the time on period, which we're about to enter now, are so crucial. If Norwood can get these couple, or 1 or 2 of them, it's not a bad statement, that one, they'll certainly go well ahead and put the game beyond, I think, beyond Port Adelaide's.
24 minutes in, Port 1 goal, Norwood 8 goals 7, a demolition of last year's premiere. There's retribution being taken out there by the Redlegs. Crothers, free kick for a ruck infringement, goes through half forward. Now look at the kick. Well, it was just ill-directed. Clements just sat back on it. Good pace, picked it off and goes forward. A long ball to Rowe, who really is just knocking up getting possessions. So too McIntosh, playing well today. He loves a big crowd, a big audience and a big arena, and he's got all 3 today. And Tyson across the line.
Number 47. James Tyson, number 14 there on screen, was Gary McIntosh. Magarey medalist on a couple of occasions, one of the very finest players of the game.
Missed one too, didn't he? He might have just been a little indiscreet on one particular occasion. McCormick, Jarman, head down. He does that very well. Pitt playing well. A high ball through half forward. Big fly was Tyson. Couldn't bring the ball down. Good occasion, Polton. And he's been tripped to the umpire and picks up the free.
Played a reasonable game, Jared Polton. Wouldn't have had that many possessions, but has done the right things, the basic things, playing at half-back.
Port Adelaide needs a lift from ball A's. Clayton delivers it long and high. D. Smith crashing through McKay, handballs off, but Jars really is covering some ground today, taking a defensive posture and doing it well. Delaney a little push then on Toomey. The umpire said that's okay, it's a mark. Now he plays on to Boulais. Boulais is trying to lift. Malloy almost got there for the smother. Darren Smith, front position. Now this is Wasley. Hurried kick into space. And Malloy and Hutt and Clayton. Good contest. And that's what the crowd came to see. They came to see a contest. I think Port Adelaide might be starting to deliver. Throw in, Crothers. Pascoe from behind, down to McIntosh. Bolt and the boundary line.
Scott Bassett at centre-half back for Norwood. It's been very, very good. Number 31. Really don't notice him that much, but he's just so effective with his dour defensive abilities, his skills to be able to spoil the ball strong and hard, and it's really creating a lot of run for the likes of Pitt and Fleming and this fellow Wasley.
Jars to Wasley is good play. Malloy front position, sets himself. From behind Delaney spoils. Now Miller did that pretty well. He's giving a contest there. Malloy. Now this is where the Redlegs through Obst deliver the ball beautifully, and Toomey takes the uncontested mark. He just set himself off beautifully.
Toomey has been in the midfield on occasions in this quarter. Just running forward there, finds himself with an opportunity to kick for goal for Norwood.
Only a 20-year-old. In his 12th game. He's got 11 goals, so he averages 1 a game coming into this match. And he's taken some tough balls today already. He's shown himself to not lack anything in the courage department. They lead by 49. A kick here takes them out to 55. As Rowe comes off the field, heads to the boundary line. That's a miss, it's a point. So a 50-point margin in favour of the Redlegs.
50 points before the half-time break is certainly a commanding position, and one which Peter Rode, the coach of Norwood, would be very pleased with. But Norwood now have the chance to turn that, I guess, inaccurate kick into a 7-point score if they can able to rebound this Delaney kick with a 6-pointer. set themselves. The big fellow Pascoe, the big spoil ball lace, but what a tackle by McIntosh. Umpire let it go, could have easily called it as a free kick. Just his desperation, hard at the body, just his ability to get his arms around the body of the Port Adelaide players and just inhibit their disposal ability.
28 minutes gone, second term. The Redlegs in complete control. McIntosh takes the ball, goes to ground, still gets away a handball. Miller goes after it. Ginnivan over the top, a high ball. Dillon, who really hasn't had a lot to do in this match, but shows enough. Wide to the outer side. Malakalis couldn't get there, and a good mark taken by Clements. Deep in defence. These fellows look good. So at half-time here at Adelaide Oval, it's the Redlegs leading by 50 points, Ken Sheldon, and I don't think even their most fervent fan could have anticipated this margin in such a big game. The third quarter underway with Port Adelaide trailing by 50 points at half-time. To pick up the call in the third quarter, your commentators Mark Naley and Ken Sheldon.
That was McIntosh, got the ball out beautifully again. North through Malloy, he just fakes the handball, gives it back to Jarman. Jarman lines the goals up. It's an awkward quick will to make the distance. I think it might have. Has it got there? No, it hasn't. And the Port Adelaide defender and Feagit, one of the better Port Adelaide players in the first half, Ken.
Well, I think it was one kicking the ball to the other. Jarman, in my opinion, best on the ground, and Feagit certainly Port Adelaide's best player. But what a kick by Feagit. Kick to touch using the safety of the boundary line in defence.
Game you see, this is Miller. Pushes the ball back. He hasn't really taken a grab this afternoon. I don't think Miller has.
He's been very effective though, hasn't he, Mark? Like he's just positioned himself in the corridor. He's ran hard. He's ran everywhere. He's been outnumbered 2-1, but he's always brought the ball forward to his crumbing Norwood teammates, the smalls, the talls to smalls routine. And Peter Rhodes got that working well, not only in the forward line but also in defence.
He's had 3 kicks, 3 handballs. Yet to take a mark is Jason Miller. In there again. Nord really have started this third quarter that they mean business. Out to Tyson. He was good in that first half. Out to Miller. What can you do this time with the football? He centres it. Got smothered off the boot. Ginnivan comes through. He needs to pick up his work rate. Gives it across. This player important. Really is a goer. Plenty of energy. The better Ed. Across the wing. That player there was McCormack. He comes into the middle. Finds McIntosh. He drives it wide. A beautifully kicked to a beautiful lead there by West. Running onto the ball here is Obbs. He's under extreme pressure again by Poulton. He cleans the ball up beautifully. Puts it back on, only as far as West. West is taken a little bit high and the ball goes out over the boundary line.
What about that McIntosh kick though? The two-pronged attack, Malloy and West. McIntosh receiving the ball in midfield, just unloaded with a long 65-metre left foot drop punt.
2 minutes into the third term, live from Adelaide Oval throughout South Australia and the Northern Territory. McIntosh, who really is playing a terrific game, doesn't he always in these big ones? Kick number 11 for him, goes forward. Delaney, left footer, into space. Miller just tries to paddle it back. In support comes Malloy. The ball's held to him. He goes to ground, and it will be a bounce.
Well, Norwood really have built their club on the football style, I believe, of Gary McIntosh, or they need to continue to build their club on that style if they're going to win the flag. And I think the opportunity is ideal for them. Port Adelaide at the moment, SNFL club, probably having all the glory and fame taken away from Port Adelaide, the AFL club. The Crows are in a little bit of a lull at the moment. Norwood are lapping that up, like they're capitalising, I guess, on the Balm, on the Craig, and now the Peter Road coaching. Like everything's set for the Redlegs, in my opinion.
Well, Port Adelaide have won 6 of the last 8 flags. Let's not take that away from them. The Redlegs back with Clements. Redlegs haven't won one since 1984, and you suspect that this year might be their year.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, David. Like they've just been too soft for too long. You put it as simple as that. But they've really just got to continue to build it around the McIntosh style of football.
Barry Shell was the man who put the ball in. He's now on the oval. Former Sturt player. There's Macca. And his testimonial year. 337 games.
What a player.
Now, some people are talking about him retiring. He's finished third in their best and fairest the last 3 years. So he gives a great contribution, doesn't he? He could probably go for another 4 or 5.
Tyson inside 50 on a pretty acute angle. He puts the ball in. Which way has it gone? It hasn't. It's gone to the right-hand side of the goal post. Mr. Richter, another behind for the Redlegs.
I loved his comment in the pre-match where he said, look, it's only early days yet, and you know, that's one day in September really that Gary McIntosh is playing for, isn't it?
Well, it's his testimonial year, and if ever you think just one club's going to rally for one player, he'd be the man, wouldn't he?
It's a focus like that that often can be just the catalyst, just the thing.
That was Nicholson just pushing the ball forward, hoping it was going to go out of bounds. West is well out from centre half forward. Where he's moved to. He gives the ball back onto Esau. Esau on his left leg drives it down the wing. Malloy's there. He takes the Port Adelaide player out first. The umpire hasn't given the free kick. He must have missed that one. The sun could have been in his eyes. Over his right shoulder.
Shell
goes forward. Again, he's pushed it across the face of goals.
If they kick straight, Ken, this game would be obliterated.
Well, it would have been all over at quarter time, but they were inaccurate at the goal face. Bad kickings, bad footy, but they recaptured that in the second quarter where they kicked 6 goals, 2 behinds.
Well, they kicked 2 goals, 6 in the first quarter and 6 goals, 2.
So they turned it around, didn't they? And just played so magnificently in that second quarter. They just need to settle a little bit now in the opening part of this third and just put, I guess, the nails in the coffin one by one.
I'd love a stat on the last time Port Adelaide only kicked 1 goal to 5 minutes into the third quarter. That wouldn't have happened too often. Wouldn't be too many Port Adelaide quarters where they've been goalless, frankly. McKay in front of Jarman. Looks to play on quickly. They're just not running the ball through that midfield. They're just standing and delivering. That's playing right into the hands of the Red Leg defenders who have just run at the ball superbly, played the boundary lines when required, and they've done it pretty well. Clements has been solid, hasn't he?
He's been very good, Clements. He's played an attacking role as well as a solid defending role. He's got a good football brain and he uses the ball very well. Number 25 for Norwood.
116 kicks Norwood, 73 Port Adelaide, so they're dominating in that department.
All over the ground.
Ball down again. Gone as far as Wasley. This is Setri, picks it up, gets across to Jennifer. Now, you don't see that happen too often. Just lifted his eyes before he took the football. Nearly muffed it. It's come to ground. Setri's worked hard to get back up there again. Could nearly been paid the free kick. McIntosh, the ever reliable Gary McIntosh, just so sweet and so clean with his handball. Just found the North player loose by himself. Just gave him some time, and they have. Again, they go down the boundary. A little bit of an arm on the shoulder. The player there in front was Damien King.
Just love to see that handball again of McIntosh. Right in the last line of defence, up off the ground, on the way up, and so accurate, so clean, so crisp. What an ability. Any youngster looking to play the game at the highest level, that's one of the skills that you must master. And that was a great example.
Malakalis, the high ball, Pitt stood under it. He's played pretty well today. 12 kicks, 3 handballs for him. This is kick number 13. Not bad stats from a defender. He has been a springboard of attack today. Rhodes used him wisely. Polton couldn't bring it down. Shell to McIntosh. Macca goes around the corner into space. The ball will run. Nicholson, recruited from Footscray this year, goes towards the boundary line. Hasn't he had his hands full with West? West already has kicked 3 goals.
West is a very fine player on his day, as any SNFL follower could vouch for. Multiple goals, in fact 10 on a number of occasions. He really can kick them.
So Shell trying to get through traffic at the back door. Malakalis misses it, opens the door for King. He only needs to pick it up, hand it off. Tyson on the left boot. He loves these. He never misses from that close, and he's put it right through for his second. Tyson's kicked 2-1, and Norwood, really, it's just a procession.
Well, they're the ones you want. When you go in at the half-time break, like Norwood were able to nail the last couple in the time-on period, just prior to the half-time siren. They've come out after the break and they've put through first blood again. That's exactly what they'd be looking for as a team. Now they're looking for the further leadership to continue, the likes of McIntosh, Jarman and Rowe in the midfield, looking for those players again to just push that ball forward.
Back in the centre of the ground, Norwood 9 goals, 11-65. They really are making a meal of this game. Port Adelaide still that sultry 6 points. And again, we see the Norwood defence, which has been outstanding. Adelaide Oval here this afternoon. Very disciplined. They're playing the team rules.
Well, they've probably played, Mark, to be frank, a tougher game than they've probably played in the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, they have to. It's as simple as that, David.
Well, Rob Popplestone's one player that we haven't noticed hasn't come out onto the field after half-time. He's not sitting on the interchange bench either. That was And Stephen Rowe.
It's
He's got a
you're right
report
there. There's a
for us.
concern about his wrist, of course, and so Stephen Rowe hasn't come back on. He's having some treatment on that wrist at the moment. Also, Wasley, one of their runners through that midfield, has got a fairly heavy knock in the midsection, and he's a bit concerned about his ribs. So Smarts came back onto the field. So two of their key runners have left the midfield. Be interesting to see if they can hold on through this third quarter.
Well, Poppy, if you find some more information about Stephen Rowe for us, please advise us. A very important player to this Norwood side.
I think he's gone off to eat some nails. He's tough. He's been tough today. Holton, long ball through half forward. Again, the red leg defence just mop up beautifully. Look at them running in numbers. It's 3-on-1 out there, and that's been the pattern of play today. Now Port Adelaide get there, but it's too late as Pitt takes possession. Under pressure, he gets a handball away. Smart to inboard is good play. Shell with pace. He looks pretty good, this youngster. Or veteran almost now. Malloy, two hands, couldn't bring it to ground. King fights hard for it, comes back inside. Miller needs support, throws it wide to Tyson. Forced on the right, he can bend it back to West. No, he goes to the goals. Well, West was the option, wasn't he? Right at the point of the square, West was calling for it. Tyson on the right had West, but didn't bring it back.
Played AFL football with Richmond. James Tyson crossed to Norwood 3 seasons ago and is very neat around goal. He'd be disappointed with that finish, but just exciting to see a wingman that's prepared to run deep and hard into the forward line.
Ball's come back in. It's a big fella on Esau. A little bit high on the tackle. That's a young bloke in Polton who I've been pretty impressed with. He's one Port Adelaide player that is having a go. He's got Ginniver out wide by himself. He uses that player. He comes forward. Darren Smith out in front. Been taking one mark this afternoon. He puts the ball out in front of Hodges. And Scotty Hodges, the solitary goal kicker for this Magpie side, has taken another mark. Very, very tight in the pocket. Around about 50 metres out.
2 kicks, Ken, to Darren Smith. 1 kick to Scott Hodges.
Treadray, the other, I guess, tall prong in the Port Adelaide attack. Like, all have been non-performing, but
right behind it, our Cameron puts it high in the air. I think he's dragged it across the face of the goal square. As we can see, brings up another point, or the first point for the Magpies. They move on to 1 goal, 1-7. Norwood, in the commanding lead, 9 goals, 12-66.
having said that about those 3 forwards, I always think that it's a little bit of injustice sometimes to be too hard on them, as the midfield has to be winning the football for forwards to fire, I think.
I like this bloke too, Scotty Bassett. He's played pretty well today. Obst, McIntosh, they are running through the midfield. Tyson is dominating. One of the best of the Redlegs for mine, along with Jarman. McIntosh been very solid. Malloy bounced off the chest. Tries to recover. Miller comes in, lends a hand. Upended. Delaney goes to ground, and Malloy comes up just holding the ball.
Jarman can have the 3 votes now, David. He's just been so
influential,
creative, influential. Yeah.
Had a huge influence, him and Rowe.
Match winner.
When it was there, I think Tyson, Rowe, Jarman, McIntosh, the 4 of them, when it was there to be won, really set it up and set the standard of play. Jars in particular, his defensive work was just fantastic. Smart around the corner. And underneath this one, marked by Nicholson. Only 22, plenty of football left in front of him. Footscray discarded him. Setri back from Border Districts to the grandstand side. If you just joined it, the scoreline is true. Port Adelaide a 1-1 and Norwood a 9-12.
This is McKay. Half-back flank, puts it forward. Coming out strong there was Evans. Young Paul Evans, only 18 years old. On the power list, he puts the ball out in front of Hodges again. He just gets pushed under it a little bit. Mel Callis comes out. Couldn't quite take it. Nord again, just strong in defence, as they have been for most of the afternoon. Just not letting any loose ball go free. Rob Propperstone, we see Glenn Malloy's come off.
A bit of a concern down here with Glenn Malloy. He's also got a heavy knock to the calf, which is getting an ice treatment at the moment. So yet another red leg injured on the boundary, and therefore Eastor's returned to the field.
Yeah, I think that happened in that last pack, and he came up holding the ball and was just feeling the effects of it.
So again, the Nord defence just pushing it wide. This player is Obst.
Plays a well wing, but plays the wing well. Obst.
I know what you meant. Again, he butters up again. He's got plenty of runners inside. Nord working well together, just there to support the blocks and the Shepherds. The ball's put out beautifully, and this is West. This is a round of applause from Ken Sheldon.
Once again, it's the running defence. Jerry Dantokia there, playing in the back pocket. releasing that ball from centre wing.
So James West, beautiful action as he comes in. He's put it, hadn't quite made the distance. And the Port defence led by Delaney just knocks the ball through. So we see a quick score. See Malloy there, just got a bit of a cheekbone also, but his calf very heavily strapped. I think a player
Nice.
with that much ice on it wouldn't return for this afternoon.
No, he just got a kick. You just never know if he's required. But I think at this stage, I'm not sure they need him. Now, that's the way Port Adelaide's day has been going. The kick from fullback couldn't find Nicholson. It goes out of play. And Smart will take the free kick, the 23-year-old. Puts it in on the left foot. Underneath this one is King. Made his way into the side. And West. It just looks good when it all works, doesn't it?
So methodical and effective. But a move, I think, a good one has been made. Desperation, it often is in these situations. But coach Stephen Williams from Port Adelaide has shifted Nigel Feegit from defence to centre half forward flank. So he will take up and make a fairly handy, I think, combination if they can get on Song, Feegit, Darren Smith and Scott Hodges. But they really just need to get some midfield.
West, who has 3 today, goes across the face of the goals and out of bounds on the full.
Just noticing Feegit in that first half was really the only backman that Port Adelaide had. Now, why would Stephen Williams move a winning player?
Well, in this situation, when you're getting belted, you've just got to try and do something. I think he's tried a number of players in the forward line. Nothing's worked for him. So I guess probably the question, rather than why, might be why not.
And if their comment.
But I thought Jared Polton and Mark Clayton were also pretty effective across half-back. But
Well, the ball was always there.
that's a fair call too. But really, it's just been a total blitz by the Norwood side, and they should be they should be 20 goals.
It's just been far too easy. Hardly any pressure really put on by this Magpie unit. Timmy Ginner just having a few words to himself. I think he needs to have a few words to his teammates alongside him as well, because at the moment they really are being hammered. It's hard to imagine that the 15 and a half, nearly 16-minute mark of this third quarter, that the Port Adelaide side have only kicked one solitary goal. They really have been beaten in every position. We see again the Norwood Redlegs going forward. The ball is just dropping short at player and Polton. He's cleaned up here by Treadray. He's been moved, looks like, onto the half-back flank just to try to get him in the game. Let's play here, number 6 for Norwood is Obst.
He's gone to
They've
centre.
got numbers.
He's gone to centre half back, Mark.
Oh, look at the numbers. They've got 2 or 3. They could raffle it out there at the moment. West from behind. I think he's taken the grab. The umpire calls play on the numbers. They've got support there again. Ball's kicked across. It looked like King, was it?
Smart.
That's Smart. Nathan Smart has come on. Just paddled the ball through a la Peter Dacos style to bring up the 10th goal for the Norwood Redlegs.
The reason that ball was down in the Norwood forward line was because of the work of Damien King, number 39, who's wearing a shoulder pad on his left shoulder, white. But he is so good with his hands, it is encouraging the Norwood runners to come through the midfield. West then is creating a fantastic option for them with his aerial supremacy. And, of course, the goal. Well, what a terrific left-foot goal.
90 handballs to 38 handballs. Norwood certainly distributing the ball, and it's a perfect day for that too. And they're dominating the rucks, the Redlegs. That's been a big part of it today. Smart tries to crash through, gets a kick of sorts away. Miller underneath that one. Treadray gathers him in, so Treadray's picked up Miller. Jarman's kick was smothered. Crashing through McGuinness, couldn't quite get there. McGuinness has had an unusually bad day, and Malakalis goes to ground. Jars and McIntosh call for the free. And Peter Road is almost smiling in front of us. Glenn Rossi, Peter Road, and they look pretty happy, the Redlegs Brain Trust.
Ball's given out here. This is Scholl. Puts the ball high in the air. I think he's brought up his first for the afternoon, and Norwood just extend their lead. The Norwood crowd are ecstatic. They haven't seen a unit like this for many a season.
Terrific play. The ball up at centre half forward. You see it there. Clean take out of the air again. It is that player in Damien King with his quick hands to the running small brigade. And what a fine finish. But just back to that move again of Stephen Williams, Feegit onto the half forward line and Treadray to centre half back. Treadray, it will not hurt him as a youngster to play a few games back there.
Great reaction, Barry Shell. Back in the middle. Loose ball falls.
Just quickly, David, that Scholl, he's been on for about 18 minutes of football. He's already had 9 possessions.
Actually,
Pretty exciting
he had
stuff.
68 games with Sturton. Really didn't make a huge impact there. But when he's been fit, he has been an impact player with the Redlegs. He's been able to come on and do those sorts of things, just to have an impact on a game. And he's been used successfully off the bench today by Peter Rode. Dillon, out the handball. Ball A's to space. Now look at this, the Redlegs. Now that's probably one of the first mistakes that Fleming's made today. But he gets support back there from McCormick, and they've been a good pair.
McCormick, number 25.
42.
Played with Carlton. Oh, I've got him mixed up, the player that he very much looks like.
42, he played with Carlton.
In Clements, yeah.
When you were there?
A little later than me. Played in premiership with Dandenong too. In the VFA as it was then. A very hard player.
Well, he travelled overseas last year. He went through Asia, and I think they missed his toughness in those big games, and he really has stamped himself as a player of great character and commitment.
And a good thing about it is that if, for example, McIntosh, Rowe or Jarman, one of those great Norwood midfielders, decide that they can't go on a little bit in one of the quarters, well, McIntosh, I should say McCormick, is a great player in that area of the ground, as is Anthony Harvey, sitting out the game today.
Todd Davey and Matty James, a couple in the grandstand. They'd be handy players as well, so their depth is very, very good.
The crowd really hasn't been involved this afternoon. It hasn't been a close contest. Norwood really have taken this game by the scruff of the neck. They wanted to win it. They had something to pay back from last year's preliminary final. Hell, they paid them back. They really have made this Port Adelaide unit very second rate.
Well, I think people came here today, Mark, looking for a hard physical clash.
There's a good example of it there. Ginnivan, as he is always, just eyes hard on the football, but left himself a little open there and was hit very hard by Damien King.
Wouldn't be related to you, Ken, would it?
King hit him with the other shoulder too, not the one that's padded.
Again, ball's thrown up. That player in Jarman, it just needs just those small things, just getting the ball onto the boot, just enough. King again.
No, not in the bloodlines, he would have got that.
No, they've been impressive. They couldn't be any more impressive, the Redlegs. The real secret here will just be to keep their feet on the ground, because they did, after all, give Port a walloping in round 15 last year at Norwood Oval. But Port Adelaide were able to come back and find something in the final. So I suppose the thing that needs to be mentioned here to the players is just keep your feet on the ground. We've got a fair way to go in the season. I'm sure they will. Oh, King, clever, straightens, delivers, and bang, delivers beautifully. So Damien King gets his second, and he really has been a star for the Redlegs this afternoon.
And McCormick, it was the player that probably set it up earlier, just forcing that ball long and hard into the forward line. A very open forward line it is at the moment for Norwood, and the pace of King running onto that football, putting his head over it, landing on his kicking foot, and balanced up well. The ball just went right through the middle.
Port Adelaide just extending their lead. Norwood is extending their lead, I should say. 12 goals, 13.85. Adelaide 1 goal, 1 to 7 solitary points. So we see they're going forward again. This is Damien Obbs receiving the handball from Miller. He just backs himself, goes for a run. He's well inside goal-kicking area. I think he's brought another one up.
No.
Or has he? No, he's missed it. The crowd reaction got us all excited.
He hasn't had a lot of the ball though, Ken, has he, Obst?
Obst, probably the major asset of Obst is his just blistering speed, and I guess his biggest distraction is the fact that he just doesn't finish well enough at times, and there was an example.
Ball A's gets back to McGuinness, has been very, very quiet this afternoon. He's only had 4 kicks and 1 handball so far, just not enough for a midfield player. He really has been destroyed. Feagit, as Ken said, has been with a great smother off the boot. That player there,
Scott Bassett. And what I believe a very underrated player, Scott Bassett. He's only a youngster, 18 years of age. What a future he has. Like, he's just so dour. Those little things there, like he was just like a second skin on Nigel Feagit then.
coming out against him. Strong work shown there by Smith. More players kick the ball out onto the full. The young kid in Tredray should take this. We can just see here, pretty close, pretty tight. He had the right idea, the right intention, but just couldn't execute it properly enough. So Tredray tucked deep in the pocket, looking to his right to see if we can see a lead. Decides to go for a pot at it. He puts it high in there. I think he's brought it back far enough. He has nearly an impossible angle. He's just directed that ball through the middle of the goal, and that brings up the second one for Port Adelaide. A much-needed goal.
And whilst it mightn't be in Tredray's day, it can certainly be his moment. What a goal, what a special talent he has for this game of Australian rules football, and what a fine kick. From the deepest of angles in the pocket here at Adelaide Oval, he has just shredded that. Playing at centre-half back at the moment, so he's really ran well to give himself that opportunity.
12-14 to 2-1. If you're a Red Leg fan, I think you might be buying this week's video. Pascoe with the free kick out of the middle. Delivers it long towards full forward. West, strength. Just couldn't quite complete the mark. Butters up for a second opportunity, but it flips out the back door. And opportunity now, going hard at it, is Nicholson. And talking of the videos, you can get any game that the ABC game covers as the game of the day from any ABC shop or by phoning that number below. $34.95, not bad value, and I think most Red League supporters will have a copy of this one.
Some tough work still shown. Still plenty of desperation by both sides. See Malakalis, last player to get up off the ground. 25-minute mark of this third quarter. Miller up against Crothers. There the play gets a shoal, just pushes the ball forward, looking for King. Malakalis is there, he just runs the ball out over the line. So commanding lead, Port Adelaide 2 goals, 1-13. They're miles behind Norwood, 12 goals, 14-86.
73 points to be exact. And I don't think anyone who came here today would have anticipated that. It's a smart, going to the point of the square. Eastor's back there, Delaney's there in support, across the line, out of play. And it's a free kick to Delaney. Eastor threw him away. And Roger just milked it for everything. Well, he's a great veteran, isn't he, Roger Delaney? 193 games. Played in 6 winning grand finals. Half a dozen state games, and that's a great mark. Pascoe, and there's a player, Miller, Jason Miller, in the hands of the trainers behind play. As Pascoe puts it in long. West, front position, Esau, 3 deep, comes at it. Off hands, Tyson couldn't get there, but picking it up is Smart. Wrong side of the post, and through for a point.
See Coach Williams on the screen there. He's been pretty disappointed so far in this game. He really hasn't seen a great deal that he can work with. What he can take away, there's a few headaches. Just got time now between now and come the finals time. The Port will be there, there's no doubt about that. They'll be in the final 5. To find some magic cure that's going to be able to beat this Red Legs unit that really has improved since 1996. It's Jarman. A lot of the football this afternoon is Andrew Jarman. It's the speedster out wide and coming forward back in again. This is McIntosh from inside 50, puts the ball high in the air, just drags it across. Bring up another behind. They really have kicked a lot of points this afternoon.
It's been the only distraction from the Norwood game. Like, it's just been a superb game of football, but their inaccuracy in front of the goal face. It's been left a bit to be desired. They just need to settle, just get that little bit more coolness and voice around the bloke that's carrying the ball, preparing himself to shoot. So they can put more through the middle.
Pascoe, hurried kick forward. Treadray sits back on this one. Shell rounds him up like a cattle dog. Over the top it goes to Ginniver, who's kept battling all day. Just inside the line. Good Shepherd achieved. Wobbles one away. Had no target, no option at all. And really would have done better to hold the ball. Jarman steals it away. Goes short. Great mark underneath that one. And the Red Legs through Esau will kick the goal from 48 metres out directly in front.
It really has been their play today, hasn't it? Every time Port Adelaide has sort of got an opportunity, even when they've been clear, they just continually seem to be putting the ball very high in the air and making it very difficult for their forward line players.
Only 23 years of age, like Primus, has improved with every outing with the Red Legs, this guy. But that one, in searching for distance, just drags it across to the right through for a point. So the Red Legs, 12-17, Port Adelaide 2 goals 1, the margin out to 76 points.
Must give it to the Port Adelaide supporters as well. They're not going home. They paid their money to come in and watch their team this afternoon.
They never do, Mark, do they? That is a trait that you've got to hand it to the Port Adelaide fans. They stay right to the end.
That's Delaney, bring the ball out wide, found Malakalis. He decides to play on quickly. He does. He turns. But what has he got there forward? From behind is McKay. He'll take this. He does. Got a running player inside with the other Malakalis. He punches the ball forward, looking for a lead from Feagit. That wasn't Feagit. That player there was Evans. This time it is McGuinness. He handballs it over the top to Smith. Which way will it bounce? Bounces straight through. They really did make a mess of that.
Again, it was not that flash to look at, but it did go from one end to the other. In total control of the Port Adelaide team, but they just weren't able to finish it at the last moment. The left-handed handball of McGuinness just not quite being up to the mark.
1 goal 2 this term to Port Adelaide. 4 goals 9 to the Redlegs. McCormack through traffic. McIntosh feeds off. Runner is king, doing well. Through half forward, the siren sounds. So at three-quarter time, it's a 75-point margin in favour of the Redlegs, Ken. And really, you just anticipate the way the game's going. This could be a 100-point blowout by the end of the match.
Ball bounce again in the middle of the ground. There's Carruthers got his first hand for the football. Puts it down to a player. And Port Adelaide will take the first free kick out of the middle. This is Daisy Borlase. He drives it towards his centre half forward. More players still strong in numbers. They're still there. They're still there supporting each other. Kick the ball out, but only as far as the Port Adelaide captain in Ginnivan. Ginnivan brings it inside. Could be an opportunity here. They can just set it up. They've got Smith who's at full forward now. He just works his way into the front position. Nord again at the numbers there. McGuinness, who hasn't been signed all day, snares off the back of the pack and brings up his first goal for the afternoon. He's not too happy with the attention that he received from the Nord backman. But get up and just get back on and play some football.
I wonder if they could ever retract the goal after something like that. Like if that did eventuate into something nasty. Like McGuinness has no right there to respond. I don't believe if you're strong in the brain, I think you've really got to just have that controlled aggression. Like he has a score on the board, he should run away laughing from that.
I think he's a little bit frustrated as well, Ken. He really has been beaten. And it wasn't a bad bump. It wasn't really a push in the back. It was in the side and just pushed him forward into the goal post. He wasn't too happy with the attention. It wasn't as bad as it looked. But back in the middle of the ground again, the ball's been bounced. That's their third goal. They're 3 goals 2-20 Port. Nord still got a commanding lead. They're 12 goals 17-89. Umpire just finds his mark, comes back to this side, the grandstand side to bounce the ball. McIntosh on screen. Esau goes up against Carruthers. McIntosh was the target. Coming through strong was Obst. He gets the ball out. The running players again. This is King who runs over it. Scholes in there as well. He's a live wire. He just dodges and weaves throughout the pack. He puts the ball high out wide. This looks like it's going to be West. Has he paid the mark? I think he is. The umpire indicates, puts his hand up and says he has taken it. And Jimmy West, that's his 6th mark for the afternoon. He's already got 3 goals on the board.
The thing that disappoints me a little bit about that, though, is the marks of West, as you've watched them, are getting wider and wider into the pockets. And that wouldn't please Coach Peter Rowe, but a perfect pass to a big, tall Andrew Pascoe. Natural left footer is Pascoe. Should be money for old rope.
He kicks a lot of goals. Yeah, that's a good comment,
Money
actually.
for old rope.
He kicked 26 goals in 6 games last year. 42 and 10 reserves games. So his tally last year was 68 goals in 16 matches. He knows how to kick them.
So Pascoe, pretty acute angle. He's on his left side. It's a good side for him to be on. Not much reaction behind. Umpire indicates it is a goal. There should have been a reaction because he has. He's brought up his first for the afternoon.
I think there's a lot of Port fans
And
back
they
there.
just bounce back this Norwood side. They move on to 13 goals, 7-85. The Port Adelaide side, 3 goals, 2-20.
Very important for Port Adelaide to respond here in the midfield. They've got to be able to win this midfield clearance.
Goal kickers for the Redlegs. West 3, Tyson 2, King 2, Smart has a couple. Treadray, McGuinness and Hodges. McGuinness getting the opening goal of this final term for Port Adelaide. Eastor thumps it down. King just flips it out. Tyson running, doing pretty well today. Picked up plenty of the ball, and West, as you say, Ken, running wider and wider. Picks up a free kick for a push. It was kick number 17 for Tyson. 24 possessions in all. 4 marks and 2 goals too. So his afternoon has been very productive. As West goes long from 48 and wide through for a point. Gives him 3 goals, 1.
It's been a very productive forward, but it's just making the job too hard for yourself. Trying to kick goals from out there on a regular basis.
Well, Glenn Malloy hasn't got amongst the goals today. He did kick, 6 in the opening round against North Adelaide.
He's off the ground injured, but I think very much an underrated performance from Malloy. I think he did create a lot of space. He mightn't have kicked goals himself, but he was prepared to work, do the unrewarded things, and I think that would very much please the Norwood Match Committee.
Malakalis puts the ball high. That's Hodges as well down the ground. It's young Timmy Ginniver, not young anymore. It's the kick forward. Ball ace. Scotty's over this time. Hasn't got the mobility these days to be able to get hold of the football. Gives it across the Jarman. He's been exceptional this afternoon. The umpire indicates he's playing the advantage. You've got a player in the middle of the ground. If he wants to use him, he puts the ball out in front. It's like West for his 3rd mark in this quarter. Now that's better, Jimmy West. Out in front. He's got a player loose from King. He wants to use him. He does. And over the top. We'll set him up for another opportunity to bring up another major.
It's a good forward line movement by the Redlegs then, opening up the complete centre corridor. And James West was able to run into it, lumber into it, you might have perhaps thought, but now an ideal opportunity to goal for his team as Damien King.
Damien King already kicked 2 goals. He's got 15 possessions up to this stage, 3 marks. He goes back, stabs at it. I reckon he's brought the goal up. The indication behind says yes, it has, from the North supporters. You see the crowd, they're very appreciative of this Norwood side this afternoon. They bring up their 14th goal and they just extend their lead even further.
And again, Mark, I'll come back to the importance of a centre bounce clearance. Port Adelaide need to get the ball in their forward line, otherwise it's going to be a complete blitz here by Norwood. They're full of running, they're running hard into the forward line. You've just got to be able to, well, wrong foot them somehow. And the only way you can do it is win possession, putting it into your forward line if you're a Port Adelaide player.
Umpire Derek Woodcock puts the ball down. No one got that one. Jars just thumps it forward into space. He goes, handballs off, recovers himself. Now goes with another handball wide to Tyson, who comes back on the left. They're just playing with Port Adelaide now. They've got numbers everywhere. Shell took on one more perhaps than he should have. He had support. Now delivers it up towards centre half forward. Man handling, no, said the umpire. Play on the call. Miller was the offender. Treadray was the target. And Miller comes back. His 2nd effort today, Miller, has been quite terrific.
Looking at that on replay. Well, perhaps it could have even been paid a mark. Not so much the man-handling aspect of it, but probably the right decision in the end to ball it up. But Miller, yes, he has been exceptional. Again, the unrewarded things have been a feature of his game. Just a preparedness to make a contest, a physical contest. Use his brains as well and open up the forward line for his Norwood teammates.
Ball's put down again. A quick sock off the ground. Player running in quick. Didn't quite register a goal. Just went across the face of it. That player there was Scholl. The crowd still here. They're not going home. We really are seeing a couple of traditional rivals belted out today, but Norwood have just been far too good, far too strong. Just don't get a better midfield. I don't know who's going to beat this midfield of Rowe, McIntosh, and also Jarman. It's a real class act. Besides, are going to beat them, they're going to have to take those 3 players on. We see Ginniver running out of the back line, puts it high. The Port player there was Evans. Still inside. Again, players just dive themselves on top of the football.
And again, Mark, the dominance of that midfield, I think, is further being helped or assisted by the fact that it is McIntosh's testimonial year. He is saying loud and clear that, you know, September's what he's playing for. Jarman is now a Norwood player and a Norwood player only, very settled and very focused on his football at the moment. So, you know, it's just all set up, I think, for the Redlegs at this stage of the year.
You see the play taken a little bit higher. Play there was Clements. Shields his eyes, looking for a player wide. He's got one out there. If he wants to use him, he does. And Stephen Pitten's got a paddock and a half, and he wants to run with it. He does. And he decides to get it moving quickly down the field. This player who handles the ball beautifully is Obst. Really has been pretty creative. He comes inside. Centre half forward. West takes his 4th mark for this quarter. Really starting to move around beautifully. Got a player out wide. If he wants to use him, he can run into an open goal. That player there again, and it is Tyson. Tyson runs and brings up a mate. Now that was just beautifully set up from the back pocket right through. Ends up with Tyson to bring up another major. That's Tyson's 3rd for the afternoon.
James Tyson just prepared as a wingman, not only to defend, but to run hard into the forward line. And you can see him there just running into space. Perfect balance, head over the football, lands on his kicking foot. Very, very good execution. And the ball goes through for a 6-pointer.
3 goals, 2 to Tyson, 18 kicks, 8 handballs. Prominent performance from him, 9.5 minutes into the final quarter. This is round 5 of the SANFL, and the Redlegs will remain undefeated in 5 encounters. Jarman delivers it forward. It's fantastic work. Now Miller, left foot. Well, that's not bad.
Sensational.
Like that, we'll have a drink on that one tonight.
That is just sensational. Champagne football, you describe that as. Ruckman taps it down, quick flick to the centreman coming through, lace out to the full forward. Doesn't quite hit him, but it's mopped up by the centre half forward, who crumbs the pack front and square, and then puts it through on his left foot. Beautiful. Even put a balk in there.
You just see Treadrate there commit his body also at the football. We just see here he's taken out by West. Gets up a little bit gingerly, he does. See just to watch him down the boundary. Rob Popplestone, our boundary rider. Never seen this happen before.
Oh, no, and haven't played here for 40 years, Port Adelaide, on an Anzac Day against Norwood. I think it'll be another 40 before they want to come back. They've just made a change. Rucking off the bench, of course, Jux has entered. Carruthers has done the best he can, but Norwood just too good all over the ground.
So nearly 11 minutes gone in this last quarter. Really has the pace has taken out. Norwood just in total command. They've just got nothing. Port have got nothing to throw at them. Players just not putting their bodies on the line, which is surprising. That's that player who's really having a purple patch in the air, Jimmy West.
What about Nicholson's game, Ken?
Well, there's 2 players that have both had a crack at the AFL. James West has been a proven performer here at SANFL level. Certainly one of the players that most opposition coaches would look to curb when they do their matchups and lineups. Played some successful football with the Sydney Swans. Total dominance here against Nicholson, who has played for Footscray.
Jimmy West just goes back, lines it up straight for the middle of the goal. That brings up his 4th for the afternoon, and Norwood 17.
What a great kick. It's perfect as he has a wry smile to himself. But again, off half back from the centre bounce. Total dominance. Norwood, strong, hard, straight down the middle. And the big man just positions himself, used his body well. Real well, in fact, just positioning his opponent out to the left-hand side and taking it on the right-hand side.
Well, we're out to what, 101 points. Big margin in favour of the Redlegs. Jarks gets it down, throws Jarman away as Jars gets his kick away. But it's an FAD. The big fellow was just a little sloppy. And it will go back to King. Or Tyson. No, King. Jarman's had 30 possessions in this match, by the way. 18 kicks, 12 handballs. He has dominated. This is Matty Toomey. Just inside 50. Or the 50-metre square, correction. Off hands. Smart. Couldn't get clear. Hurry kick away. And that's the value of pressure, Ken. Treadray off. Carruthers back on. And I'm saying that's the pressure that Nord have applied.
And there was also something I think very notable there. Smart, very aware upstairs. Like he was able to hold that handball, realising a Port Adelaide player would have received it had he given it.
So Clemens from 45 out to almost directly in front, just fades it to the left. It's a point. The Redlegs will advance to 17 goals 20. Port Adelaide to 3-2. And this Anzac Day clash coming to you on ABC Sport.
37 shots at goal to 6 or 5 this afternoon. It really has been Red legs day. See Weston there again, just punches it back. Norwood had the numbers short. That was McIntosh. Ball just went over his head. Delaney, what can he do? He's got 3 Norwood players around him. He's just prepared to pat the ball over his head. Just keep it up there.
It's just so important now for Norwood to finish this game off. Like, just totally pulverise the opposition now. 3 goals, 2 Port Adelaide have on the board, and just don't let them kick any more.
Ball thrown in alongside the point post. Miller works hard with his strength to take front position. Coming out is Malakalis. Throws it up forward. Norwood again had the numbers at ground level. This player in Pitt has been pretty impressive this afternoon. He really has controlled this back line with the absence of Bowman. Ball's kicked in towards centre. Which player will get it here? Norwood again. You just mark it. Get down. They just get through. Cut through the pack. Number 45 there is Nathan Smart. I think he's kicked the goal. I think he has. That's his second for the afternoon. And Norwood, we just can't say enough about them. They have been simply sensational.
Very evasive and a brilliant goal on the left foot. But I make that point before, David, like, they just need to keep going, Norwood. They need to show no weakness. I say that in view of you need to build a premiership. You just can't come out and slaughter a side and all of a sudden for 10 minutes let the opposition kick 3, 4, 5 goals. They just need to just nail them step by step by step as they build into a premiership if it's to be their year.
Yes, well, that's where they lost it last year, wasn't it? It was in virtually 10 minutes of football. They let Port Adelaide back into the game, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake again this year. They have had the pedal to the floor since quarter, in fact, right from the start of the game.
The next 15 minutes or 10, 15 minutes might tell the story.
Well, I think Port Adelaide will be looking to take something out of this match as well, so they won't lay down and die. Dillon through half forward. McGuinness pushed off the ball by Clements. Dantokia crashes through, plenty of courage there. Darren Smith claims him, goes to ground, and umpire Woodcock indicates that he'll just have a bounce and put them at it again.
Live here from Adelaide Oval on ABC Sport. Darren Smith behind. He just felt something in that tackle. He's bent over. Poor players just really have been hammered. They've been outnumbered. They've just been hustled and bustled all afternoon. Again, Dantokia cleans it up. He's got the running players out wide. The 2 or 3 that he could have possibly used. For once in this last quarter, the Port Adelaide side will receive a free kick.
The freeze mark, 16 to Port Adelaide, 13 to Norwood. Not much in that stat. McGuinness got there late. Clements, hurried kick, a high one. Spiro Malakala sits underneath this one, marks it in behind Shell. Now plays on over the top. They need to build. McKay goes long and high. Smith was injured just a moment ago. Jarman took front position, did pretty well. McGuinness tried to crash through, couldn't get through the pack. The Norwood pressure was very strong. Hodges feeds it out, but look at this. The red leg defence. Obst has time for a bounce. Dantokia put down McKay behind play, and the umpire's seen it, by the way. The ball will come back. So Jerry, I think, just squaring up for one earlier, and the umpire was right on the spot.
I don't think the camera would have caught that one.
McKay over the top to Hodges, and Hodges will have another shot. Well, let's just see what you think. Obst bounces away. Now we caught it just in the background.
Might have been a little bit too far away from the action.
Well, the funny part about it, the umpire was only about 5 metres away, right on the hammer.
It's a necessary part of football, a target shepherd, to be able to pick
Intimidate.
the pursuer, that's right, off and protect the ball carrier.
Hodges has 1 goal, 1 from 2 kicks, so he's been able to score every time he's got the ball. And that one, it's a goal, but not too much cheering. Port Adelaide fans just throw a voice now. And you suspect that the reason we've been so quiet here is the Port Adelaide fans that were coming in force and ready to let loose. But they've had nothing to rejoice in today.
Hodges looks to be playing under difficulty as well. Gee, what a performance by the Norwood side.
What do you make of that? Kicks and marks all in favour, and handballs. Oh, look at the handballs. Indicates, Mark, that Port Adelaide have been chasing all day.
They really have, haven't they? They really have been in charge. You see them going forward again. Port Adelaide just pick up on a mistake by the Norwood players. The midfield running through. Dantokia is there. It's a good work game by Pitt. Just pushes it out to the safety of the boundary. You're right, just looking at Scotty Hodges in the goal square. He doesn't look good. Looks very proppy either on his knee or on his ankle at the moment.
Left knee.
So the ball thrown in once again in front of the members. It's flicked back. It was Borlase just pushing it forward. His player is Malakalis. What can he do with it? He just flips the ball forward. Dan Toshia, simply brilliant this afternoon. Just pushes it out over the boundary line once again.
Kentucky and McCormick have just led the charge, Ken, haven't they? They just pointed everyone in the right direction.
Clements, Fleming, Scott Bassett. Like, it's been a very, very good and tight back line.
Getting through Clements, off to Jarman. 31 possessions for him. He's been a star in the midfield for the Redlegs today, and I think he's repaying them for a lacklustre final series last year. I think a few people might have reminded him of that. And Pascoe, the big ruckman in the midfield, through half forward. West sits underneath it, little push. Play on set, the umpire, 2 bites at the cherry. It's a push. No, the umpire. Jimmy's happy. Not worried too much about it. Now Fegert, star of the first half of defence. Obst, right inside the line, handballs it over. King, Clements, they're going one pace at the moment, the Redlegs. I think they've really spent themselves. They've worked hard all day, and West marks right on 50. That's a flyer.
Yeah, 10 marks this afternoon, Jimmy West. I reckon he's had 6 in this last quarter.
Down to the boundary line, Rob Popplestone.
Eastors left the ground, just carrying a bit of a corky in the thigh, and rather than risk him do any more damage, Wasley's returned. He himself's got an injury with the ribs, and he'll be rested down in the forward pocket.
Thanks for that, Rob. 5 to West, 5 goals won this afternoon. The key forward, and it's unfair to say is the difference between the sides, but the real difference is that the Norwood side have had forwards kicking goals, and Port Adelaide really have had no options at all.
Well, they haven't had any options because of the midfield supremacy and the tight back line of the Norwood side. McIntosh, Andrew Jarman, best on ground, in my opinion. Tyson, fella that's just come back on in Walsley, like, they were superb in the first quarter. Second quarter, where Norwood kicked 6 goals and then followed up in the third quarter. It's just been a dominant midfield all day for the Redlegs.
They're at it again, the boys. The Red Sox, they're running it forward again. Ball's kicked it high. A little bit of pressure. Setri will get on the receiving end, gives it back to Geneva. Geneva just chips it forward. His player is Clayton. He takes the mark, gets back quickly.
He's really shown a bit today, hasn't he?
Looks good.
Yeah, he hasn't given too much away. He's been tough, he's committed. Like the way he plays the game.
I think Fegert and him were the 2 best players in the first half for Port Adelaide.
There's a criticism, he just floats the kicks up and makes it difficult for the forwards. I think he needs to work on that, but he really is a goer, this kid.
Scotty Hodges is in there, couldn't even lead then. Went to take off and nearly buckled over. And Jarman, that player that Ken believes is best player, and he's also my best player for the afternoon. He's been fantastic. Miller at the back, just get the ball to ground because with the players there in support, they give it inside. Again, they just keep running and running. This is Nathan Smart, pushes it high at the back of the pack. Jimmy West, just get to your feet and kick the goal, fella. He can't. Roger Delaney holds him up.
Nicholson there in a gang tackle. Jimmy West wasn't going anywhere, was he? He had the big fly. Nicholson came in, just held the ball, made sure that West couldn't get away the handball. That wasn't bad. Miller pushes off, thumps it down. McCormick, defender, goal kicker. No, point kicker.
Be disappointed with that, Paul. He's a very hard player. He runs hard, he works hard.
Kid, I was going to say that he's never kicked a goal in South Australia. Since he's been playing league football here, he's played mainly in a back pocket or half-back flank. He's never kicked a goal, and he'll never get a better opportunity than that.
Well, you can guarantee that there'll be one player that will really run it out for the final 6 or 8 minutes.
He's tall.
Just getting his ankle pretty bit of ice. I thought it was a corky, but it's a little bit more serious than that. He's got ice on his ankle at this stage of the game. This little stat has been given to me from our statistician here, Ian Mogridge, saying the 4th time ever the Port have lost by over 100 points.
He's a marvel, isn't he, Mocker?
He's just also had down the line that this could be the biggest margin. It's only about 3 points that Norwood need to be the biggest margin ever against this Magpies. Ball's punched clear. Geneva. He pushes it wide to McGuinness. McGuinness looking for something. Not quite sure what. Pushes out in front of Smith. Pitt jumps over the back. Jarman needs to put some quick legs in. He's really is tired. He's worked so hard today. Smith kicks it up. He's got Hodges on the lead. That's a better lead by Scotty Hodges. Jarman's in there again. Just uses his shoulder. Scotty comes around. The player in Borlée short. Borlée should just pop it up in the air. He doesn't. He's just very lazy, undisciplined kick. Should be very disappointed with himself.
Now, Mark, the Redlegs' biggest winning margin is 158 points versus Woodville, July 95. Highest winning score is 33-21 to North, 10 goals 9 at Norwood back in 77. So those records aren't in any danger of falling today.
Well, when we say he's against Port Adelaide, not worrying about Norwood, mate. It's a Port Adelaide side. Never been beaten by this sort of margin before. It's only the 4th time that they've been beaten by 100 points. If Norwood kick another goal, it'll be the biggest margin ever. Port have ever gone down. Ball's kicked inside of 50. This could be it. I think it is. David Mackay and Ken Sheldon 3. That's his 3rd for the afternoon. He has been sensational. Nathan Smart.
What you're saying is we're witnessing history.
Oh, and the crowd is still here to see it.
Nathan Smart, very impressive with his turn of speed and his agility in tight leg. He's so quick with his feet. His leg movement is terrific, and his left foot very, very accurate. Love seeing those goal-kicking Rovers.
It's at 4 goals 1 to Nathan Smart. Big afternoon for him. Jarks in ruck, thumps it down. McCormick, I think they've sent him back to defence after missing that shot. McIntosh, hasn't he been inspiration today? They love him. He's got at least 2 or 3 more years in him, no doubt about that. Obst forward into space. Smart again on the left boot. This time centres it up to Jim West in the square. Feegert off hands, through for behind. And the Redlegs, 20 goals 22, lead Port Adelaide 4-3. And you got one for us, Mark, haven't you? This is the biggest defeat by anybody over Port Adelaide.
Yeah, that's what I meant before. That last goal was kicked by Smart. It's the biggest margin Port have ever been beaten by.
Ever.
In SANFL football. So Geneva just gives support, lends support across the Borlays. Can they reduce the margin? A little nudge out there. Looked like it was Dan Toshia. No, it wasn't. It was Clements. Coming to the dying stages here.
Well, you've got to ask
that day clash.
Ken, how good the Redlegs, how bad today Port Adelaide? Is it just that the Redlegs were on their game and Port weren't, or this really is an indication of their relative strengths?
Well, I think just the football fraternity here in Adelaide has set this game up. Like the Crows are on a bit of a downer. Norwood revelling in that situation. Port Adelaide have got the 2 sides, the AFL side and the SANFL side. I think all the focus is off the SANFL side, and I think they're just lost a little bit of momentum there. You've got those factors, plus the fact that
they've won 3 out of 3 coming into today.
That's fair enough, but there hasn't been the same hype as with Port Adelaide as there has in, I think, past years. And you've got the McIntosh factor, which I think is very real. The fact that it is his testimonial year, and the Jarman factor. Like, you know, those 2 players, they're as good as perhaps ever have been in this competition. As good as any you'd like to name. And you know, they're just on song at the moment. And playing together, linking as a team in the midfield. Like you've got Tyson and Obst, that are goal-kicking wingmen. They're just balancing and complementing so well the lack of leg speed, if you like, of McIntosh.
Smart, 55 out, goes to the unprotected square. Now he's kicked that ball 65 metres. What about this star? 5 goals 1 from 14 kicks and 3 handballs. Now if he's not rating in the best players, I'll go he.
Well, there's no doubt he'd have to be rating in the best players, but I think when you're analysing that, and the people at home now viewing this game, you know, what a question it would be to go 1, 2, 3. Who would it be? But to my way of thinking, you know, there's a couple of criteria that come in. I think you've got to look at who set the game up. And to me, that was Andrew Jarman. That was Stephen Pitt, and that was Gary McIntosh. Others, Clements, McCormick, Tyson, you know, have been terrific. And then now we've seen players like West and the young fellow then who's kicked another goal come into the game and finish it off. But to me, 3-2-1, Jarman, Pitt, McIntosh.
121-point margin to the Redlegs. This time it's Dan Tosh. Just gets tripped, may receive a free kick and a kick in the back of the head to go with it as well, but he gets to his feet. steadies himself and kicks the ball forward. Again, Norwood just punching this forward line. Miller's in front. This time the Port Adelaide side have got the numbers at ground level. McIntosh works hard to bottle up the ball. But he works hard. Great effort.
What an inspiration too for any young fellow who wants to learn the game of football. Just watch that man play, model yourself on his exactly that word, on his work ethic.
Oh, bad bounce there by the Norwood side. They had a chance to run into an open goal again. Geneva received it. We'll get another kick here, another handball across to Smith. Smith, what's he going to do? And under a fair bit of pressure. The play was Dillon. It's kicked up. Again, we see incoming McGuinness. He claps it between his leg, pulls it into his body. Again, they're under pressure. This Norwood backline have just been so hungry this afternoon to kick that ball out of there. Jarman from behind, just a very, very, very smart player. Piece of play there, just use his body beautifully, puts it forward to Miller. He can go back and have a shot. He's outside of 50. They've kicked 9 goals already this quarter. West used his body. You could have taken it, had both hands on the football, directly in front, and couldn't pull it in.
Well, for a player, Ken, who took more marks in the SANFL last year than any other player, you might just have expected him to take that.
And disappointed in himself, I guess, for 2 reasons. And one, that he didn't take it, and 2, that if he probably had left it, it would have went through for Norwood's 10th for the quarter.
Oh, I think you did right. Darren Smith, who John Cale rates highly amongst his all-time great players, has had a quiet one today. McKay gets upended by Clements. The ball across the line, but the umpire's indicated there's a free kick there. McKay deep into the pocket. That's not the right way home for Port Adelaide. Flick up, D. Jarman fends it off. Pascoe needs support, gets it from Jarman. Short one, doesn't waste too many, does he? Clements feeds off. Look at the run. Fleming, they're still going, the Redlegs. They're looking better. King, whose second half has been terrific. He started a little slowly perhaps, but his second half has been very good. And Polton over the front. He's impressed today. Hasn't been their worst.
Prepared to do the right things is Polton. Just put himself in front and work hard at the little things of the game.
Jarman, 37 possessions this afternoon. You can't go past him. David or Ken has been really the best on ground. As Ken said, he set it up right from the first quarter along with a few of his other teammates, but he was the instigator. Got the ball moving, took out Bamford in the early passage. He still hasn't come on.
So there it is, a 122-point margin in favour of the Redlegs. The Redleg fans are up, and it's been their day. Anzac Day 1997 has been one that the Redlegs will certainly remember. Who's David Mackay? Gee, they set me up, don't they?
Now, where was that watering hole?
One of the local pubs in town. And
who were those girls?
Have a couple of the girls from the front bar, and they love AFL footballers and SANFL footballers, I'm told. And we're at Richmond Oval. It's three-quarter time as we get back to the play market. It's three-quarter time. There's the scorecard, 5-7 West Adelaide. They got 3 goals straight on the board after some inaccurate kicking during the second quarter in particular. But look at the Redlegs, 10 goals, 7-67 the margin at half-time. At three-quarter time is 30 points. The three-quarter time highlights, Mark, were a mixture, weren't they? West Adelaide fought back pretty hard. They ran hard, but Norwood had all the answers.
Yeah, they try hard. I mean, you see McClucky there punching the ball in forward. Up front here, good kick by Woosnam, but this young little player, number 2, Godden, he just kicked it off the ground, a la Tony Modra and Gary Ablett, but did a
Godden was a late inclusion for Grantly Filkey, who was out with the flu. Carlson here goes over the top of the ball now. He just holds the ball in, makes no attempt to get it out now. McIntosh goes absolutely ape at the umpire. It's just Toomey getting the ball around the corner. Great work, Growden, Cunningham. Cunningham there kicked his second goal, one in the first, one in the third.
Well,
he's been best on ground.
Possessions up to three-quarter time. He really is dominating this game.
What did you say about handballing to Ruckman there?
Well, never, ever handballed anybody over 6 foot, especially when they're standing flat-footed.
Now this is where Bannock looks to kick off. Godden was out in front of James, but the kick was a shocker, and I think that's part of West Adelaide's problem today. Dickie's been special as he explodes away. This is the sinister fly, and this is where Esau got a knee in the head, yeah, he did. He got a knee in the head and was carried off on a stretcher. Bad news for the Redlegs. There's the goal scorers to three-quarter time. Bassett with 2, Cunningham 2, and Growden and Miller. Simister has a couple, Woosnam has a couple, but Mark, you've got to suggest, as we go back to Stephen Trigg, that the Redlegs have got this game won even at three-quarter time, leading by 30 points. We're clear, aren't we, Jan?
Yeah, he said he's coming back to
Just checking. Yes, please.
Jan, you
Yes,
get
darling.
Demir to come up and change these. These are raping our ears. We've asked. They're just too big.
Yeah, we've got a smaller one for you for when you go
Oh,
to your
mate.
stand.
Can we have one up here, or can I take one with me? These ear.